2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What is up, Panther fans? You're back for another episode of the C3 Panthers Podcast with the longest running Panthers podcast and the coolest folks. I guess, I don't know. I feel like I'm cool sometimes. Tonight, we're not going to be talking about the coolest of cool teams, but maybe the worst of the worst in the league, according to the power rankings. Tonight's show is the great Carolina quarterback conundrum. And boy, PJ Walker with one pass for more than 1 yard last week, which is incredibly bad. The Panthers fall. They're 1-5 now on the season. They go into the only thing they lead is the race for CJ Stroud at this point, or the number 1 draft pick. So, we got all that to talk about, plus stuff about Matt Rule. And I got to say, I hope you are one of us, OOU, because I know my boy Cody is OOU. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, dude, I'm OOU if there ever was someone to be OOU. You know what I'm saying? And, dude, look, man, Robbie Anderson is out the door. We finally traded him away. He was toxic to the Panthers locker room. Steve Wilkes couldn't have this dude starting to fight with coaches. And, he is an Arizona Cardinal now. We'll break down that. We have a guest tonight, J.C. Allen from the Pewter Report, joining us at 9:30. But Tony Dunn, you already know that we do this every Tuesday night with the very best Panther fans in all of YouTube. You already know them and love them. It's Alex, Max Pro, Chad Howell, Heels is Rule, Joey the Blind Panther, Esquivel, Josh, Lawrence Trevette, Matt Knows Nothing, Pad One Panther, Stephen Veach, Tim Estes, Underground West, Wide Big Jordan, and your bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Robbie Anderson is out. Matt Rule is out. Steve Wilkes is in, but headed out because, boy, he's not set up to win. And I tell you this, is the irony is that he is the Brian Flores, CK, right now, is that he's about to get out no matter what. And the poor guy's in the lawsuit. It's got to be a tough situation for Steve Wilkes. How are we this bad, though, CK? How are we seriously this bad? You look at the talent of this team, they shouldn't just be like this bad.
Listen, it's impossible to be able to justify this. Like, it really doesn't make sense at all. When you look at the roster, like, we started this year out, we really believed we had a shot, right? How does it get to this point? Like, I just don't understand. I mean, you can look at coaching and certainly put that, but there's got to be just guys quitting on this team. Am I wrong?
Well, I tell you this is I thought last year was bad, and the Panthers said, "Hold my beer." Right? I saw
Like there
this.
ought to do.
Yeah, I mean, so look, you know who else is about to not be one of us? Christian McCaffrey. Greg.
Oh.
Ooh, it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people. Christian McCaffrey,
Right.
people are starting to call around. Not the most direct interest, but one team has got an eye on him, and you think he could make a difference there. Will Christian McCaffrey be a Carolina Panther in November?
If you had to ask my honest opinion right now, I think so.
Okay.
I really do. I think that you wanted us before with Matt Rule just to keep him and steer towards the iceberg, and I think that we're still doing that, steering towards the iceberg without Matt Rule now, and I hate that for Steve Wilkes. But I think we're going to keep him because I think that we have a good shot at picking up the talent we need next year, and they're going to want Christian McCaffrey around. Now, I'm still not opposed if we get the right offer to getting rid of him, even though I love Christian McCaffrey. But as far as it goes, I don't think that Carolina would do that.
You know, is that the Panthers said they want multiple firsts for Christian McCaffrey, which is like ludicrous.
It's David Tepper. Yeah. That's 1,000% David Tepper telling Fitterer what he wants.
Well,
there's no way that would happen. You could take 2 twos for this guy right now at the end of the day and probably come out in a decent position. But I think, like Greg's saying, and like my bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso, says, is that this team is a quarterback and a coach away. And what's the best thing for a young quarterback is a safety blanket like Christian McCaffrey next year. And it's just strange, to be honest, when we talk about how bad this team is, because the offensive line, best we've seen in 10 years.
Dude.
I don't even know. Like, how do you, it's like, how they're almost like trying to be bad at this point.
It's embarrassing, man. This is one of the best Panthers O-lines that I've seen maybe since 2015. I mean, they're legit a really good offensive line. We're going to talk about Ikem Ekwonu later tonight too, and everything that entails. He's looking incredible right now at left tackle.
I tell you, you guys can be a part of the conversation by calling in at 252-228-5098. The support for the podcast has been immense in the last couple of weeks and months. We have 94,000 views last month in the last 28 days for all the content we've been putting out. We've added 333 YouTube subscribers. I remember when trying to get to 4,000 felt like a mountain to climb, and now people are just jumping on the C3 train, jumping in the car with us as we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. You can be a part of that by calling in at 252-228-5098, or even be considering becoming a C3 super fan. It's a small way that you could support the show with a small donation. Also, some people have been jumping on Patreon. I'm going to give you guys some shout outs later in the show. Some real-time supporters for the C3 Nation, and we're going to need to lock arms together as Panther fans. We do this each and every week, on season, off season, tough season, worst season. Hopefully we'll get to see a good season one day, and maybe we'll get to see an awesome quarterback one day too. Don't forget, the show is brought to you by Manscaped, right? And if you're going to get cut, like Robbie Anderson was going to get cut, you don't want to get cut where it counts. You want to avoid the nicks on the balls. Don't want those. And the best way to do that is with the best male grooming products around. You can use this Lawnmower 4.0. You can use the Weed Whacker for your nose and your ears, right, to get rid of those unseemly hairs that Robbie Anderson seemingly has. We can take care of that for you. Manscaped.com. Use the promo code Panthers. You get 20% off your order plus free shipping worldwide. You guys, Manscaped's a sponsor because you support us. Guys, we went out there. They gave us a quota in the first month of the season. If we hit this many people that ordered, they would extend us through the rest of the season. I got news last week. We are sponsored through the end of the season with Manscaped. And you can help us by supporting our sponsors. Use the promo code Panthers. get 20% off, get your balls cleaned and groomed, and
Shave it
feel
up.
great that you get free shipping in the process. Let's jump into the show, Cody. And I think those unseemly hairs right there. Those unseemly hairs. And then people are coming out and they go, oh, you guys, it's a low-hanging fruit to make fun of Robbie Anderson's hair. I didn't know that. Well, I should have known there's a name for this hairstyle called wicks. Didn't know that. Like a candle wick.
I didn't know that either.
Anyway, guess what?
Shout out to Sideshow Rob. He's devastated, man. That was his
boy.
guy. Yeah,
You liked him?
Oh yeah, that was what I think. That's basically what his channel,
Entire tagline is.
That's what his thing was. But
so-
Robbie Anderson. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Check this out. This is what happens on Sunday. We talked about it on the show. A lot of calls came in on the post-game show talking about Robbie Anderson and what has been described as a temper tantrum by Jonathan Stewart. Gets in the face of a wide receivers coach. And, to be honest, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
You get in the face of a coach when you got a helmet on. They don't. The coach, arms folded, kept it together. A little bit of jawing after that seemed to escalate things a little bit. They were hyping this up from the beginning, not they, but the Panthers media, maybe not the team media, but people like Joe Person were highlighting that Robbie Anderson was sitting away from the offense by himself. You could clearly see that Robbie Anderson was not happy with his role. And some people would say that this was arguably something that had been festering before this game. And we know that his name, he's aware of conversations about him. He's active on social media. He's probably heard the noise of people wanting to trade him. He certainly struck back at fans for criticism about his play last year. Then struck at fans for the booing and the non-support and saying, look, those aren't real fans. So he's aware that, he's kind of in this odd situation. Matt Rule gets out. They're automatically asking him about it. So the spotlight's on Robbie. He knows there's a potential for a trade. And I think Robbie Anderson forced his way out on Sunday. He said, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to make you guys trade me. After he was asked to go to the locker room like a mini Antonio Brown, the next day I woke up and boy, they might as well have left him in California. They traded him to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I was unaware when I woke up that the trade, I thought this would have been a decent addition to the Cardinals regardless, but Hollywood Brown suffered a foot injury in that game, and he's been the only semblance of offense that team's had as they've missed DeAndre Hopkins as well as A.J. Green with time. It's just been the Hollywood Brown show, and he gets hurt, and Robbie Anderson is traded for a 6th and a 7th round pick. Not next year, the following 2 years. I mean, like down the road. And on top of that, this trade comes with $19 million in dead money. Ugh.
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson is 2-0 versus the Panthers, bro. He is undefeated. He defeated them the offseason after his 1,000-yard season, getting a big, over-bloated contract that has been really just postponed till to now. Like now we're really paying it. We didn't even pay it last year. It feels like now we're paying it next year and the next year. So that's win number 1 for Robbie. And win number 2 was he's like, I want out of this mug and I'm gone. And he got it. Robbie Anderson, he's not the most well-spoken person, but I think he might be smarter than we give him credit for.
I mean, he's obviously doing something right. Listen, you know what this says to me? This says to me that the Panthers were so desperate to get this man out of the locker room that they essentially took a bag of potato chips to get him out of there, man. I mean, you already mentioned it. I mean, this is a 6th round pick in 2024 and a 7th round pick in 2025. I think especially after seeing what happened yesterday, it being such a public display against the Panthers coaching staff, it incredibly decreased the value of Robbie Anderson as a player. So basically, whatever they thought they were going to get for Robbie Anderson, that went absolutely out the door, and they did whatever they had to do to get him out. Some people are saying that we fleeced the Arizona Cardinals because if there was a chance that the Panthers were going to cut him outright.
Yeah.
That if we weren't able to trade anything for him, we were just going to let it go or let him go. So I don't know, man. It's like, at this point, I'm just happy that he's out the door. I think that he was terrible for our locker room culture. He was the first one to throw every single quarterback that we had under the bus when he wasn't getting enough touches, when he was getting underthrown and overthrown. He has a history of fighting with our coaches. And look, man, I can't speak to who he is off the field, but on the field for the Carolina Panthers, he was never a difference maker. He dropped a ton of passes, and frankly, he's replaceable.
100%, man. And honestly, we got a 6th and a 7th for him, and that's more than I thought we were going to get. Remember, I said I didn't think he was worth a 6th round pick.
How?
And, honestly, he was going to get cut. But here's the thing: do you think this is Wilkes putting a stamp on the team, like just immediately letting people know he's not going to put up with this shit, and he picked the low hanging fruit? Like Robbie made the job easy for him. He had to pick a guy to make an example out of, and Robbie's just like, here, I'll be that guy. I mean, do you think that's somewhat of what Wilkes is doing right here?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with that, but I think it also has something to do with how he acted. And like the people that are defending Robbie, it's like, look, man, he might not have been wrong about his assessment of this football team, but still, man, we'll get into Jonathan Stewart here in a minute and how that whole reaction went down, because now Robbie and Jonathan Stewart, who was just recently on our podcast, now they're going back and forth with one another after what Jonathan said on the Believe in Panthers podcast. And but Jonathan hit the nail on the head. If you're going to ball your fist up and put your face mask in the face of another man, like, dude, there's a certain level, forget even football, forget football team. There's a certain level of respect man to man that you just have for someone, especially someone that is a coach on the team that you're on. You just don't cross those boundaries, man. And
Right.
He's done it before.
I don't know. I didn't realize that he had an issue with Joe Brady last year. I heard that he had some sort of argument with Joe Brady. On top of that, here is the thing. It's like, I think this is not Steve Wilkes putting his foot down. I think this is the Panthers getting fleeced, right? I mean, the Panthers are just once again foolish looking for paying Robbie Anderson a lot of money, and you can't get anything for him. If anything, you should have been trying to showcase. I won't say showcase him. Like, I don't know how I think this just expedited him getting out of Carolina. And that's why I think he did this. Like, I think he's the one that knew that this would get him out of Carolina and somewhere faster than if they just sat around. And maybe he was worried that if he sat around, they wouldn't do anything. But this is nothing. These are like the worst. Like, we got more for Kyle Allen.
Yeah, I mean,
his
numbers are pedestrian. I mean, it's really
insane.
But
I mean, he's got. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I think these guys are better than they are. Maybe that's my problem, is thinking that he's worth more than a 6th round pick.
By the way,
he was to us.
Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss this. Chad Morales with the $1.99 super chat says, J Stu is keep pounding. Robbie is the brand. And that's
a good one.
They even hinted that the Panthers are trying to get all of Matt Rule's guys out of the locker room. And it's a further commentary that there were Matt Rule's guys that he had brought in that he liked a lot, that maybe the rest of the organization didn't. And, we all know that Matt Rule coached Robbie Anderson at Temple. So, again, this was that nephewtism, like our man Pat Coltrane says all the time. Again, I think they had no choice but to get this man out of the locker room. And by the way, it's not really even an indictment on his talent. I mean, we have not had a consistent quarterback for the past 5 years in Carolina. Maybe Kyler Murray is able to form a better kind of connection with him. than any quarterback has done for the Panthers thus far. I'm sure he can, but I've said before that deep receiver, the go route receiver on the Carolina Panthers, has been cursed ever since Cam Newton hurt that shoulder.
Snake bitten. Want to highlight superfan Slim Pickens comment. He says, y'all saying Robbie ain't OOU? One of us. We've got that later. Matt Rule. Jonathan Jones comes out with a story that somehow, and why can't we see the 3-page document? That's what I just want to see, is the full 3-page document. They've only given us some clips. If anybody's got it, can you drop a link to the actual document? But Matt Rule and the brand, the Pepsi brand, born in the Carolinas, hardest working, greatest working team. We're going to come talk about that later. We've also got his OOU. This is, if you can't recite this mantra, you're not one of us, and that is the brand. But right now, the story of the day, or the story of the week, is Robbie Anderson being traded to the Arizona Cardinals. And then today, Robbie Anderson is going after the podcast. Why can't he come after us? Why can't he even come after us, man?
Cloud, bro.
I do think that the story that was slightly put out, or I guess the tweet that Believe Network put out, was maybe a little misleading about the statement that Jonathan Stewart made. And Jonathan Stewart actually was very critical. It wasn't misleading, but in the exact quote that they said, he said, y'all young guys, listen to me. Like he was talking to players about how they should be, not talking to Robbie, but talking to other players about like the appropriate behavior as pros and like how you do things. But Jonathan Stewart and the Believe in Carolina and Believe in Panthers podcast, like we said, he came on last week, and Jonathan Stewart brings you that very player perspective. He's got the opposite. I wouldn't say the opposite personality of Robbie, as in, I don't think Robbie is like super amped when you talk about it to him. He's like, he's real, but like Jonathan Stewart's demeanor is 1000% different than Robbie Anderson's, right? He's very cautious. He's very measured. He's not, talking about things he doesn't understand or overly emotional on things. I feel like he's very in lane, like down the fairway. But he had an issue with this. I think he's rooting for this team to get better. I think that he hates to see the Carolina Panthers like this. And he probably knows that if you are going to turn this sucker around somehow and find any sense of success, is not behaving like this. So tell us about what happened. What is this? As Jonathan Stewart goes on the Believe in Carolina Panthers podcast. Cody, CK, did you catch the comments themselves? I watched it, but maybe you got a good memory of what he said.
I mean, I have a clip if y'all want to play it.
Yeah, play the, because I know it's not a very long clip. So yeah, we can do that.
And this is Jonathan Stewart from the
Believe in Panthers podcast.
Believe in Panthers podcast.
See, the shut your mouth and play what he was talking.
Tantrum because he wasn't getting his way. Whatever that is, you're really showcasing to the entire world who you are when things don't go well, when things aren't going right. It's one thing if you're out there making catches and you're out there having 100-yard games and you're frustrated on the sideline that you aren't getting the ball in the moment in the game. That's not the case. So for the young guys, keep your mouth shut and play. Yep. Roll with the punches. That's part of the game. It's part of the growth. It's part of the opportunity for the growth. And when your time comes, you make the most of it. Now, I understand the frustration and I can respect the frustration, but when you are on national television, you do not act like that. And so for the guys, for the guys that are in that Panther receiver room, take this as a learning experience. You have a guy now that's at a head coach position that ain't with that. And none of these other coaches are either. Now, Robbie, I would like to hope that you can see that the grace of God is on your career right now because the Cardinals situation. Yeah. Now, count your blessing because you would be out of a job right now.
And that's what Jonathan Stewart had to say. And by the way, literally nothing unfair or wrong about what he said at all in the slightest.
He literally, I mean, everything was 100% right on par with it. And I'll say this much, because I think it's important that we put this into context too, right? Robbie has always, I know you wide receivers tend to get the diva, moniker that goes along with them and whatnot. Well, Robbie Anderson has somewhat embraced that from early on in his career. He was playing with, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we were playing him and Josh McCown when he was on the Jets. He was kind of a breakout star that year. Like, and we were destroying their squad. Like, it was not even close to them beating us. And Robbie Anderson scored a touchdown. And the thing he goes to the camera and says is, vote me to the Pro Bowl, vote me to the Pro Bowl. And I'm like, dude, you're down by 30 points in a game that means something. Like, let's have some, like, I guess, realization about where you're at.
Awareness.
Because, yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point in time, and there was no awareness. And I know that this has been a frustrating situation. It's been a frustrating situation for every single player on that team. But to sit here and say that it's all right to do that, like, I mean, the people that are defending this is hysterical. Like, there's so many people that are like on Robbie Anderson's side here. And I'm just, how
really?
I
haven't seen that. I haven't really, but I haven't been looking today. Tell me about those people who are.
A lot of people felt like Robbie got a raw deal.
I'm not gonna name any names, but we're in a group chat with a few of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody like anybody who's played the game that's broadcasting that I listen to on any kind of sports show, any kind of network, hasn't gone through any defense toward Robbie Anderson. They've all pretty much felt the same way that Jonathan Stewart has.
Maybe it's just I mean, that I'm mainly to. Friends.
Yeah. Oh no, I get that. I'm just saying, as far as media goes, I haven't heard a lot of people that I would put validity behind what they say, or at least trust in their judgment. I haven't heard them defending Robbie Anderson.
Right.
Like I said, maybe on. Like Cody said, what you're frustrated about is understandable, and you may not be wrong in the situation, but it's the manner in which you act.
I think everybody could be on this offense, could be frustrated.
100%.
Like, who cares? 100%. It's like, we weren't going to throw it to you anyway. It was third down. We hadn't thrown the ball more than a yard, bro. Like, why you even want to be out there on the field for that? I wanted to, God, I can't find it. Speaking of the awareness, there's a picture that I saw today or yesterday where Robbie Anderson were down 32-3 or something like that against the Bucs, and there's like 1 minute left, or man, it's like the game is just a rout, and Robbie Anderson makes a catch and then celebrates the first down. Like, woo, and everybody's like, dude, we're getting killed.
He's in his world,
but I think everybody is frustrated on this. Now, as we come into this and continue to discuss it, if we look at this, let's just look at, so Jonathan Stewart makes these comments on the Believe in Panthers podcast. Now, I wish I would have known this. I was looking for these comments all day. I couldn't find them. And then somebody goes, I think it's on IG, dude. And I don't use Instagram a lot. But so if I can see, he says, so Robbie Anderson jumps on the thread and says in talking to Jonathan Stewart, you lame as fuck for this and don't even know the ins and the out. I could respect you if you pulled up and said this to me direct, but you jump on a podcast to use my name to get some traction. That shit lame as fuck, homie. Now, I got issue with this. Is like, that's the whole point of podcasting. It's like, no, it's not. It's like, really. He's not your mentor. He's not your friend. Like, actually, it'd be weird if Jonathan Stewart came up to your house and knocked on the door and was like, hey, Robbie, I really want to talk to you about, like, I'm a black man that cares about other black men and their success or whatever. Like, I'd be like, God, what? Like, how would he react to that? That's the whole point of the damn news. That's the whole point. Like, it's like, oh man, imagine if he said to Shannon Sharp, I wish you wouldn't have talked about, you should have just come and talked to me in my face. No, that's what we do right now. Number one. And the only reason that you get paid $28 million is because people talk about y'all and we watch and we buy shit. So, like, to me, I thought that was weird. He goes on, and I mean, he's like making it a respect thing. He's like, G up. Says, you ain't finna try and paint me like that, I'm the issue. Like I'm the issue. I can't throw the ball to myself or call the plays. I did what I could since day one. Don't speak on me no more. What is that last part? Jit?
It's like a
Legit?
It's a South Florida thing, man.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
I saw an interview the other day, and he spoke about how well he articulates like that himself and like how he speaks. I was like, okay.
All right, man. We got some cool stuff. We got more talk to get into this, but we've got some due diligence to do. Who's our guest? JC Allen, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, JC Allen should be on here soon. From
Pewter
the
Report, come on
Pewter
and help
Report.
us figure out what's going on with
Oh,
the
speaking of the devil.
Bucks. Look, speaking of the devil, he's
Like
here, but
Beetlejuice.
we've got a little work to do. CK, new member to the C3 Superfan, and other people can be as cool as Will Horsley by hitting that join button and supporting the podcast as we grow at this incredible rate as the Panthers circle the toilet. Let them have it, CK.
Will Horsley, I have one thing to say to you as you have joined an elite group of human beings. You've hit that join button. You've become a C3 superfan, and for that, I want to say welcome to the club. Thank you for the support.
Appreciate you, Will Horsley. Now, let's bring in our guest. He is a writer for the Pewter Report. He is here tonight to help us uncover this Tampa Bay Carolina game, the ins and the outs of it, what we can expect. It's JC Allen. JC, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. Happy to be here. Happy to chop up a little Carolina Panthers Bucks talk. Both of these teams kind of struggling as of late, so it should be an interesting matchup.
All right, let's get right to it. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, or sorry, we're already that's where we're at. Okay.
Right.
No, what is this? This is week 7, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. 7.
Wow.
Carolina Panthers.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we
Hard
thought
to
the
believe.
Carolina Panthers were going to have some fight in them this year. Maybe that Baker Mayfield bring a little tenacity and grit, and it's just been the opposite of that. So we're sitting here at 1-5 already at this point, saying crash into those rocks over there. We don't really have a choice at this point. But the Bucks have not had an easy season to this point yet. Tom Brady continues to be a focal point of what the heck is going on with him. He dominates the conversation, goes to Robert Kraft's wedding in the middle of the week. And also, just really the real story is not Tom Brady and his commitment probably to the Bucks, but Julio Jones is made of glass. One play gets hurt. Everybody's hurt on that team. But you guys have been here before and turned it around. So how bad is it for the Bucks, or is this just something you guys are battling through?
I think it's just something they're battling through. You know, you look at Julio Jones. Yeah, he's dealing with yet another injury, but this isn't an injury that he suffered like the past ones. You know, most of these were soft tissue hamstring injuries. This one is where he actually put his body on the line, diving for a catch and partially tore that PCL. So, you know, the Bucks probably could have put him on short-term IR and then brought him back once he was feeling healthy. But I think part of the reason why they didn't is because, you know, depending on injuries stacking up at that position, he probably could go, but it's best to keep him out as long as you can, as long as you don't need him, let him be. I mean, the Bucks, even though they're dealing with some struggles, they're still playing for that December, November football. They're not playing for, you know, this week necessarily as much as they are, you know, for down the line and potentially in the playoffs. So, but I think there's a lot of things that are correctable. A lot of coaching mistakes that are correctable, a lot of execution errors, a lot of I mentioned this all last week, and I thought the Steelers game for them was a perfect game to get right, was with technique and fundamentals. It just seems like they're not playing with good communication, with good technique, and just basic football fundamentals that they should know how to play with because they've been doing it the last 2 years. So I don't think, you know, Tom going, you know, to Kraft's wedding. I mean, look at what the Pats did, and half the team was there this past week. So, I mean, I think that's just a scapegoat because of his enormous personality. You know, even Coach Bowles said there's a lot of players who get time off, get days off that we don't know about because they're not Tom's level. So I don't know if that's necessarily playing in. I mean, this guy is a master at compartmentalizing. He played when his mom was dealing with cancer. He and won a Super Bowl. He played when his dad was hospitalized with COVID and won a Super Bowl. So anything that's speculated off the field, I don't think is really that much of a huge deal going on behind the scenes. I just think they're not playing sound football, and that's something they need to get back to. And I think, I thought last week was, but I think this week also provides another chance to potentially get back into the swing of things and start the turnaround.
So your team is 3-3 right now, correct? That's where you guys are sitting in the division?
Correct, yeah. Well,
so
in the conference, in the division, they're 2-0.
Right. But just, your record overall, you're 3-3. What would you say is the difference? I mean, I know it's still early. There's a lot of football left to be played. But what would you say is the difference between that team that went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl versus this team right now? What are your major concerns plaguing this Tampa Bay team? And, is it more offensive and defensive? And where are those problems stemming from, you think?
I think the biggest thing right now is offensive line. You've had 3 guys up and leaving free agency or retirement or get injured. You're looking at obviously Ali Marpet retired after making his first overdue Pro Bowl. Ryan Jensen gets injured on the second day of training camp, and then Alex Kappa left for the Bengals. Well, he hasn't looked good for the Bengals at all, and they got in Shaq Mason, who's looked pretty dang good. But you're starting every guy in that offensive line is starting next to somebody new. And building that chemistry, building that camaraderie, building that it takes time, it takes reps to know what the other guy's going to do next to you without having to communicate it. We're just thinking, okay, on this look, he's going to do this, and without and just to play smooth and able to just go out there and execute at a high level. They're also starting a second round rookie left guard and Luke Gedeke, who's had some real struggles going up against some of the best defensive linemen in the league so far. He's had no shortage of between Kenny Clark, Chris Jones, Grady Jarrett, Cam Hayward. He's been piled on, and it doesn't get any easier with Derek Brown this week. So that's been a real problem. Pressure's getting to Tom, and he's not. He's got the fastest release in the NFL, which has probably saved at least a handful of sacks, if not more. But the fact that teams know that they're going to be able to get pressure on him, they're playing more off coverage, they're leaving him checkdowns, which is why Leonard Fournette is one of the best. I think he's actually leading the team right now in receptions as a running back. He is leading the team in receptions right now because they're allowing those checkdowns because they know that Tom's not going to have enough time to hit those deep balls, which is why they're covering, double covering Mike Evans, etc. So there's definitely an issue there. And I think that's the biggest issue on the offense. On defense, they're getting away from their bread and butter. I mean, stopping the run is what the Bucs are known for over the last 3-4 years. And so far they've been not good at it, just to put quite frankly, whether it's up the middle, whether it's, quarterback containment issues, they've struggled. And until they get back into that, and then obviously injuries, injuries on the offense with wide receivers being in and out, Mike Evans being suspended, Cam Brate in and out with injuries, concussions, and dealing with a neck injury. Akeem Hicks, with a foot injury is still out for a while, might make his return this week. Now Logan Ryan's having surgery and going on injured reserve. And really part of the reason that made that Bucs team so dominant those first couple of games was because of that safety room. Having Logan Ryan, Mike Edwards, and Antoine Winfield Jr. in that defensive backfield allowed them to do so many different schematic things because all 3 of those players could play nickel, strong, or free safety. So it allows them to disguise so many different coverages. Now with a guy like Keanu Neal out there, he's more of that pure strong safety. You're not going to ask him to do a lot in coverage. You're not going to put him in a nickel situation. So there's that issue where they've lost some of that versatility on the back end. And now it looks like they're probably going to have to promote a guy like Nolan Turner. They're trying out D. Delaney, who's a cornerback there. He played free safety all last week against the Steelers and had some ups and downs, but that's probably, that's one of the biggest issues that have has occurred with the injuries that have popped up, and it's not letting them play the ball that they were playing earlier on in the season, and it's helped with their struggles.
Yeah.
So first, let me go ahead and say thank you to Michael Davis, again, one of our patron saints on the C3 Panthers podcast. He donated $20. He said, "Hey Tony, have a Miller Lite on me. You guys have been killing it lately. Keep it up." I wanted to ask you a question, JC, if you would. one of the things that I think that the Bucs always tend to win on has been free agency. I think this year we could probably say it's got to be the first time that the free agency that the Bucs have had turns out to be really bad, right? You guys go and get Kyle Rudolph. That, unfortunately, he can't even get on the field. You get obviously you have a lot of issues because you lose one of the best guards, or I guess best guards in the league by to free agency. A few injuries, get a couple of them out of the way as well. Right now, what is the upside you see to the Bucs team outside of having Tom Brady and maybe one of the most explosive receiving cores in the league?
I think the free agent class has got this big asterisk and question mark next to it because of the injuries. I mean, you look at Akeem Hicks already out injured, and we know he had some health issues in the past. Julio Jones, we know about his health issues, but already out with the partially torn PCL. You look at Russell Gage, who looked phenomenal in training camp. And even some of the guys in the team, Mike Edwards saying he's running routes that are uncoverable, looked really good in training camp, pulled his hammy. Then he's been battling through a litany of injuries, ankle, back, hamstring injuries still lingering. So, I mean, and then obviously now Logan Ryan's out with a foot injury. So injuries have not been kind. Kyle Rudolph just got outplayed straight as it is. He's been slowly regressing over the last couple of years. And I think they brought him in just to make sure that they had that veteran depth, but always hoped that he would been beat out by a guy like Cade Otton, who they really liked and got in the fourth round, and he's been spectacular. Keith has been finding a role as a fullback hybrid, tight end, H-back type role, so they utilize him. Plus, he's really good on special teams, and Rudolph doesn't play special teams. So, I wouldn't necessarily say Rudolph was a miss because he was more of like a late addition. Let's bring him in, during camp and see what he can do. So I think injuries has been the biggest obstacle for this free agent group. But, if you want to look to where this strength is besides Brady, obviously, and besides the wide receiving core, I still think they have a good, solid group of outside linebackers. I mean, you start on the outside with Joe Tryon-Shrinko, who had one of his better games now, coming into his own in his second year as a full-time starter. Had his best game against the Falcons, had a better game last week, even though he didn't get a sack. Shaq Barrett is still causing some mayhem, and on that sack that Antoine Winfield Jr. had, he was actually there first. I think they're still really good in the middle, even though Devin White's been playing with some ups and downs, some lapses in judgment, especially in coverage. But he's still one of the best, most dynamic blitzers, and he's a sideline-to-sideline player with that speed. And Levante David, I mean, you guys know Levante David, Luke Kuechly have always been back and forth, and who's better. And they both have very comparable stats. I think Luke Kuechly just got more recognition, but he's still one of the best coverage linebackers, off-ball linebackers in the game. And I think Antoine Winfield Jr. Has been really, really dominant. He's probably the best safety in the game right now, if not definitely top three. And then look no further than the outside, the cornerbacks as well. Carlton Davis can shut down receivers. He's been doing it all year. And surprisingly, Jamel Dean has taken a huge step. He's one of the top 5 ranked corners in the league this year. Teams aren't even testing him. I was talking to him in the locker room last week. He's like, I wish I'd get more than 2 targets a game because he's just playing lockdown coverage. And even when he was targeted against the Steelers, he was there for the quick tackle and it wasn't giving up any extra yards. So I think, they still have some really strong points on the defensive side. Offensive side, obviously, the offensive line is a mess. I think the tight end situation will work itself out. And I think they still have good running back in Leonard Fournette, who's improved as a pass blocker. He can still churn out some of those tough yards. I think a lot of his production so far has been based on play calling, which I'm sure you guys will see on first down. Look for Byron Leftwich to call multiple runs. Your defense to know it's coming and for them to stop it. It's just what's happened so far this year, and it's a big contention against media, fans alike with the uninspiring play calling. So I think they still have some really solid pieces to build around, but there's some question marks on defensive line. Obviously now safety with the injuries, and the offensive line as well.
JC, that was actually a question I wanted to ask you right there, was about game plan. You kind of led to it there with Leonard Fournette. He's my fantasy running back in both my my fantasy leagues this year, so I've paid a little more attention to him, and he seems like he's been kind of a workhorse for you guys. And based on Brady not throwing the ball as well, or really not having the success in the pass game, do you guys look at that as being more of a running attack that maybe, or more of a game plan you guys will have in the future going forward until Brady picks things up? Or coming into Carolina, at least based on our run defense, do you think you're going to see a lot of heavy Leonard Fournette based on your opinion with this?
Gosh, I hope not. And that's nothing against Lenny. I mean, I'm tight with Lenny, and I want him to get all the yards in the world for himself. But at the same time, I think they really need to go back to what this team's bread and butter is. Before this season, they preached balance, balance, balance. We want to be balanced. We want to be a multiple team. We don't want to be just known as a pass first team. And that's what you're good at. You've got Tom Brady. You've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You've got these guys who
What's
are.
Godwin's story right now? Is he just dealing with injury, or is he? I mean, he was playing last week, right?
Yeah, he's fine. He's 100% right now. Tom missed him on a few throws with the pressure getting there. He made a spectacular catch where Brady just fit it into a pea-sized hole. I watched the play over and over. I still don't know how that was a completion. Just go on Twitter. You'll find the play. Just put like Brady to Godwin, unreal Pittsburgh, and it'll pop up. But I mean, he's fine. But I think, with Lenny, they've been utilizing him and kind of because they haven't been able to get the run game going, they've been utilizing him in that short yardage situation as quick hits out of the flat, and utilizing that short passing game as an extension of the run game, something that Brady did for a while there up in New England with James White and Danny Woodhead and Kevin Falk, and the names go on and on, Shane Vereen. And they've been that's why he's leading the team right now in receptions, and he was finished third last year on the team in receptions. So they're utilizing him that way, but realistically, that's not exactly how they want to just utilize him. They want to be able to get the guys the ball down the field. They want to utilize him in the running game. It just hasn't transpired, and part of that is because of the O-line play. Now, not all the O-line. Obviously, Christian Wirfs is an absolute stud. He's probably the best right tackle in the league at this point over Ryan Ramczyk. And Shaq Mason's been incredible. He's been really good. And even though, Hainsey's just he'll be making his seventh start. Robert Hainsey, their center, taking over for Ryan Jensen. He's been playing really well as well. It's been that left side, and not so much Donovan Smith because he's only on a second game back, but really the rookie, Luke Gedeke. And teams are taking advantage of that. Expect a lot of Derek Brown over him, a lot of mismatches to get Brown on top of him to kind of create pressure in certain situations. Everybody knows the best way to get to Brady and disrupt the passing game is to get up the middle. And so far, Luke Gedeke's been a turnstile for the most part. Now, he's settled down later in the games, but at that point, damage is already done. Brady knows the pressure is coming, or feels the pressure coming, or thinks the pressure is coming. He's having trouble going through all of his reads and progressions, which is why the check down is why you're seeing the check down so quick and often. Yeah. He's not there. They're not allowing plays to develop down the field, and whether it's actually happening or Brady feels it happening or thinks it's happening, that's been an issue. But he's also, again, he's a rookie. He's making his debut in the NFL. He played at Central Michigan, which is the MAC conference. He's going from right tackle to left guard. So position change. And also, just making that switch from the right side to the left side is a completely different body metrics. So the Bucs are doubling down, saying, he's had some issues with some of the best run defenses and defensive tackles in the league, and they're going to stick with him until he gets better. But I don't know how much further they can actually stick with him because he's been a liability, quite honestly.
So, Jason, you have to push back against you a little bit. I believe that Luke Kuechly was the best Mike linebacker of his generation, and number two, whoever number two is, isn't even close. But one of the reasons why I have to do that, JC, is because hanging on to the Panther legends of yesteryear, that's almost all we have right now, man. The Panthers are on the fast track to having the number one pick in the draft. We're talking about, are we going to draft C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young? I mean, this offense is absolutely inept right now, and we don't even know who our starting quarterback is going into this Sunday, JC. I can't tell you if it's going to be Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold or PJ Walker or Jacob Eason, who was elevated off the practice squad. So, I mean, for us, for many Panther fans, it's looking like this is going to be another loss at home for the Panthers. But what matchups are you interested in when you look at this Carolina Panthers team? And is there any area where we might be able to exploit Tampa Bay's defense?
Yeah, I mean, so right now the only thing I'm looking at is your playmaker, your go-to guy, and that's Christian McCaffrey. I think when you look at that matchup, he's most likely going to be drawing guys like Devin White and Levante David, and I think David can definitely, get after. He's great in coverage, and he's obviously he's got the smarts to be able to recognize plays and make the move. I think White is where you kind of struggle. You saw him last week, it was his responsibility to cover Najee Harris, left him wide open in the flat for an easy touchdown. So I think they can use Christian McCaffrey in a variety of ways. If this run defense can't stop the run early, then, maybe you're looking at him being utilized as a running back as much as he is as a wide receiver. And then the other spot as well is definitely going to be Derek Brown on Luke Gedeke. I think that's another spot where you can definitely have that mismatch and create some different looks and to try to confuse him and get pressure on him. The pass defense has been pretty well. It's the only saving grace, I will say, probably for this Panthers team. You look at it, it's not like it's been great. It's been middle of the pack. You guys rank 17th in the league right now in pass defense. Everything else is in the 20s, whether it's in the high 20s or low 20s. Total offense is dead last. So it's going to be difficult. I even especially if it's PJ Walker, but you know what? I can't even say that because Kenny Pickett was torching this Bucs team, and then Mitch Trubisky came in. So any given Sunday, this could happen. But I think the Bucs are going to watch that game back and said, this can't happen. This can't happen, and it can't happen again, and it can't happen against the banged-up quarterback in Baker or a guy who should be out, who's now going to be a career backup, potentially out of the league, and Sam Darnold or PJ Walker, who is just in the in the UFL or XFL 2 years ago?
XFL,
they it can't happen. So I think they'll be able to shut him down. But if anywhere you're going to get after him on offense, it's going to be utilizing matchups like Christian McCaffrey on Devin White. For sure. And then on defense, it's Derek Brown over Luke Gedeke and trying to get pressure up the middle on Tom that way. The little pushback I will give you on Levante David is Luke Kuechly was playing on a team where they made the Super Bowl. They were in the playoffs. The Bucs team sucked. they did not. And I'm not a Bucs fan.
Whoa. We weren't good in 2012 when he joined. 2012 when he joined the team. Like, you guys have won a Super Bowl. Let's not act like it's just been.
Well, Levante Davis is just starting to get his due now. Like, he's starting to get that national record. But you look at his stats and his numbers, and they match up good with Wagner and Kuechly, and some spots they're better than him. So obviously everyone's going to have their own opinions on that. I was just talking to a bunch of people about the top 5 wide receivers. I think the top 4 are set with T.O., Rice, Moss, and Calvin Johnson. But that 5th spot, everyone's got someone different there. Some people have AB. Some people have.
You didn't put Jerry Rice in there?
Yeah, I said Rice.
Oh, okay. All right.
Moss, T.O., and Calvin Johnson. But I mean, some people have AB, some people have Fitz, some people have Marvin Harrison. So I mean, I think that debate between who's the best linebacker in those years out of that draft class, at least, there's a lot of.
All right, we'll let you get off of that subject and onto a different one, maybe a little bit more dicey.
It's still Luke.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not a Panthers pod. I'm not going to convince you guys.
Man, come on.
Yeah. Is Tom Brady Kevin Lomax a la Keanu Reeves and the Devil Advocate? And did he go visit the devil in New England this past week? How is it that Tom Brady, at whatever age he is, 45 years old, there's all this conversation swirling about like you don't even want to play football right now. It seems like he's comparing time in the NFL to being deployed. He is getting a lot of even Greg said, he was like, oh, he's not having a great year or something like, and you look at this and Tom Brady's 5th in passing in the league with 1,650 yards. He has a 67.2 completion rate. He has 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's been sacked a little bit more than usual at 9 times already. But at the same time is that if this is bad Tom Brady, I don't want to see good Tom Brady. Is he really struck a deal with the devil? Is that what he's going to do on these like little jaunts? Is he's running the devil's errands at this point?
No, I don't think so at all. I think with Brady, it's everything with Brady does is going to be blown out of proportion. Remember, Brady's Michael Jordan, Brady's Wayne Gretzky. Brady is he's not just the best athlete in his sport of all time. He's also a public figure that is in commercials, that is a household name that everybody knows Tom Brady. No matter where you are in the world, if you mention the name Tom Brady, people are going to know who he is. So there's so much more coverage, and national media for the most part is garbage. Most of it, if you watch any of those syndicated shows, it's all clickbait stuff. They're trying to get headlines. They're trying to get people to view, and those back and forth discussions that some of these people have are just, they're not there every day. They're not in the building. They don't see what's really going on. So I don't think any of that, like I said, any of that off the field stuff has anything to do with anything. I think Brady just has developed a routine with him and Alex Guerrero where he knows how to take care of his body. He knows how to train his body. He knows how to recover with his, the best steps for recovery, and that's what's led him to have such a prolific and long career. I mean, you mentioned some of the stats that he's currently sitting at, and some other ones. He's 10th in EPA, he's 9th in EPA plus CPOE, 7th in PFF passing grade. He's tied for second in big time throws with 12, 12th in BTT rate, first in TWP rate. Like, he's still doing a lot of things, and while his numbers are down, those big throws, he's only got a big throw rate of 4.8. It's down all over the place. Everyone this year is down to 4.9. It's just the big plays aren't happening as much this year, and it's not just Brady. It's a bunch of other quarterbacks and offenses around the league that just aren't hitting their stride as well. So, I think, like I said, I don't think this offense is by any means dead in the water, dead to rights, and this is what you're getting. I think they're going to be able to turn it around. They usually play their best ball in late November, early into December, into the playoffs when they're healthy. I mean, last year, I think you look at that game against the Rams, if they have different players available, if Chris Godwin's there, if AB doesn't go topless a couple of games prior, if Tristan Wirfs is in at right tackle, I think you're looking at a different outcome. The Bucs are now hosting the 49ers in Tampa Bay. And then, if they win that, they're playing the Bengals. And I think that those two games are definitely winnable. And maybe you're talking about back-to-back Super Bowl champions. So injuries are going to play a huge part in that, as they always do for every team, and every team goes through them. So that's no excuse. But I just don't think this early season struggles that we've seen from the Bucs. And remember, besides that Chiefs game, which they came back and nearly notched it back up, they only lost by 10 points. They only lost by 2 points to the Packers, and they only lost 2 points to the Steelers. Now, granted, they should have beat that Steelers team for sure.
By a bazillion.
The Packers game, Mike Evans was out. He was suspended. And if they got Mike Evans, I think that's a different game. But, part of the problem has been slow starts on both offense and defense. And they need to turn that around. They need to turn it around quick. And then on offense, especially play calling needs to change.
Tom Brady is famously known for the Tuck rule that everybody says they treat Tom Brady differently. Look, he's had rules made for him. Will there be a rule made this offseason to review roughing the passer penalties? Because the Atlanta Falcons, who were kind of getting stomped by you guys, that felt like early on in that game, 21-0 or something like that, make it a game at 21-14. I feel like get to Tom Brady on a big play, and there's a roughing the passer call for what ultimately everybody made fun of for the next 2 days as just being the Tom Brady effect. Some people tried to justify where the ref was at and his angle and some different things like that. But some people are saying that we should, that the NFL should be able to review roughing the passer calls. Do you think that play will lead to that discussion?
No, and it's certainly not just that play. You look at the very next night, Chris Jones got called for it. You look at this weekend, there was some questionable calls for it as well, including in last night's game. It's completely, the NFL is trying to, listen, We all know about it. You were just talking to me about fantasy. This is a fantasy football driven league right now. It is bringing in hundreds of dollars. This is a gambling league right now. It is bringing millions and hundreds of dollars to the NFL. It's bringing notoriety. It's getting more fans. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to protect offensive skill players. My vote is everyone normalize IDPs in your fantasy leagues. Normalize IDPs instead of defenses. And that way they're going to protect the defensive players too, because you need them for fantasy points. So normalize IDPs in fantasy. But I think if you look at it and specifically, I hear this all the time. Oh, Brady gets all the calls. Brady's 16th in the league. He hasn't had a roughing the passer call since 2020. And before that, it was like 29th. Like, he does not get roughing the passer calls as much as a lot of people think he does. He ranked 16th since 2020 in roughing the passer penalty. Since 2010, roughing the passer penalties is called on 2.1% of the times Brady's been sacked.
How many sweep the leg penalties does he get?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Take the shots. But I'm just saying, like, it's a common misconception because it's Brady. It gets so much notoriety and so much attention. And I think I'm with you guys. I think that call was bogus. I think the call against Chris Jones was bogus. I think the call last night in that Broncos game was bogus, but that's what we're trending to. That is, that's what we're trending to is Pro Bowl type level play when it comes to the quarterbacks, because that's the moneymaker, that's the bread and butter, and that's what brings asses to the stands. That what gets people into fantasy. That brings more fans in and more spectators, because everyone wants to watch the football game to see how their fantasy's doing. At this point, the NFL's audience is 50% female. There's no denying that. Females are in this sport now, and largely because of fantasies is one big part of why they're in this sport. And they're going to protect their assets at all costs, no matter how much defensive guys like myself and around the league hate it. It's just going to be the situation that it's in.
Yeah. So, JC, this would probably be my final question for tonight. I appreciate the time that you spent with us. My question to you is very short and sweet. Do you expect Tampa to be active before the trade deadline, and players or kinds of players might you expect that they would go for?
Yeah, I think they're going to take a look. Absolutely. I mean, anyone who's available that can help them, they're definitely going to take a look at. I think they'll be active potentially in the Odell Beckham Jr. sweepstakes. One of the things he's always wanted to do is play with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's been, they've both been very vocal about wanting to play with each other. If this is Brady's last season, this is his last attempt or last chance potentially at playing with Brady. So that's something that, and I just gave you facts, Josh. I mean, you're Josh. I'm a fellow Josh, but I just gave you facts. That's something that they've always talked about. But, I think looking potentially guard, and this shouldn't even get put up on screen. Come on, guys, you're better than that.
I scroll through them. Sometimes I forget to even read what's on. That's on me.
No, I'm just kidding.
Pet fans, you understand?
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing. Like, this one's crazy too.
Yeah,
anyways, but I think maybe, I think maybe left guard, they could look if someone comes available. The thing about this is where the Bucs need help right now. No one's trying to get rid of those players. No one's trying to offer. You're not getting good players for nothing, and that's what Jason Light always says is you have to have somebody who wants to make a deal with you and is willing to accept the right assets that you're willing to give up. The Bucs are already out a 4th round pick next year. They're getting a 5th in return from compensatory picks. They're also getting an extra 7th, so they're kind of making up that with a 5th and 7th. You can get back into the late 4th, so they're kind of making that up. But at the same time, it's got to be someone who help. I think the quickest fix for them right now is to go out and see what's going on with Eric Flowers. I don't know why he's not signed yet, and there may be a reason for that. But I think he's a guy who graded out at over 70 overall as a left guard in PFF last year, and I think that he could be an upgrade on that offensive line. The defensive line, there's still Ndamukong Suh out there. And one of the biggest reasons he's not signed is because he's a businessman. Like, he's a businessman. He wants to get paid what he wants to get paid, and I don't think anyone's willing to pay him that right now. But if Hicks is going to miss more time, I think that would be a good spot to check. But I think the biggest thing that they could get at this point of the season and later, even after the trade deadline, is getting Gronk back. I mean, I think it's still a possibility, even though he just joined Fox's countdown. He's been staying in shape. He's in football shape. I think that would be the biggest thing. They're missing him on third downs right now tremendously. And you look at this Bucs team right now, they've been struggling on third downs. Right now, they're 31 of 82 on third down conversions, which is very poor. And then in the red zone, they're struggling in the red zone as well. So those two areas are huge for Gronk with his body, his catch radius, his control, and his ability to just run over players. So, I think that would be the biggest improvement that this Bucs team could get. But again, Odell Beckham Jr. is a name I'm keeping an eye on. And if they feel like, especially if injuries happen more or pile up, or depending on Logan Ryan's injury, if they feel like they need to add at safety, maybe they can take a look and maybe, reach out to the Patriots. I don't know what Jabril Peppers is doing or anything like that, but he's down the depth chart line there. Or they can, kind of target that position as well. So I don't know. I feel like a move is probably coming. They just put Logan Ryan on injured reserve and release someone from their practice squad, Justin School, who's a tackle. They didn't make any immediate announcements. They could just promote someone from the practice squad, or they could, bring someone in from the outside, a la Eric Flowers, or make a trade. So I definitely know a move is coming, or at least 2 to 3 moves. If they do promote someone from the practice squad, then they have 2 practice squad openings. So there's definitely a couple moves coming down the line. I just don't know what those are going to be. And I think it's a wait and see approach on how they can improve this team, because they're always looking.
So I obviously this past offseason was a roller coaster for Bucs fans, with Tom Brady retiring, then unretiring. Now that we're almost 7 weeks in, hindsight almost makes, at least from the outside perspective, it almost makes it look like Tom Brady coming back hurts the future of the Bucs. And I mean that in a couple of ways. If there is a guy on the roster now that's going to take his place, he's not getting those reps in game. He's not getting real valuable, on the field snaps. If the answer is not on the team, which we can all assume that this is his last year, right? Then you guys are going to be probably right now. I don't think, and you may have an opinion on this. It doesn't look like the Bucs are going to be world champions. I'm not going to put Tom Brady out at all. Like, obviously things can go wrong, but it certainly does not look like a world beater team just yet. How do you, now that the season has gone the way that it has, do you look back on Brady's unretirement positively or negatively, or does that really not even concern you at this point in time?
Well, we're only 6 games in, so 3-3 is not the end of the world. I mean, they could go on a run, still lose 2 games, and end up 12-5 and be fine. And I think they're going to win the division, so they're definitely guaranteeing a spot in the dance. And if they're healthy when that time comes around, I think they've shown that they can answer the call. So I wouldn't call them out, especially in the NFC. The NFC is in shambles right now. The Eagles look good, but are they for real? Are they, how does, is that going to continue? The Cowboys, enough said. The Giants, I think Brian Daboll's got them playing great football, but let's see if they can sustain that throughout the entire year. I mean, just a few years ago, we saw the Steelers go on that, incredible run where they were undefeated for like 12 games. Then they were knocked out early in the playoffs. So that's one of those situations. Green Bay looks in shambles. The Rams look in shambles. Minnesota looks pretty good, but Kirk Cousins playing in primetime in the playoffs. I'll take my chances with Kirk Cousins playing primetime in the playoffs. So I still think they have a good chance of potentially making the Super Bowl. Now, depending on what team they're going against, if they're faced up against the Chiefs or the Bills or anything, that's a tall task. But again, any given Sunday, the Steelers just beat the Bucs, So
right.
Anything can happen, and if you have a good enough game plan, you can make the adjustments to. That's one of the things. The Bucs have been terrible at making adjustments, especially on the offensive side. So they got to get that down. But as far as the Brady situation, Kyle Trask isn't ready. He's not. He's a guy notoriously sat in high school, sat in college. He's making a difficult transition to the pro game from the offense that he was in last year. He pretty much spent the offseason learning different dropbacks and situations like that. So I think he needs at least another year. And if you look at it, I think Bucs fans have to be thrilled that Brady came back for one reason, because they were looking at Baker Mayfield. So he ends up with the Panthers, and we know how that's going right now. So, but I think, you got Tom Brady, you're always in it. You look at having him back, you probably wouldn't have gotten guys like Ryan Jensen to recommit, Leonard Fournette to recommit. Maybe, even I think Chris Godwin was coming back regardless, but I don't know if you get Russell Gage here. I don't know if you get guys like, I don't know if they're aggressive to get Shaq Mason in here with a trade. I don't know if they're aggressive enough to put this team together that is a win now team. And this team, the way they structured those most of those contracts with Gage and Godwin and Carlton Davis and Jensen, those are 3-year deals. So this team is a win now. It's a Super Bowl winning team now, when healthy, when executing properly. I don't think we can say, anything against that. If they're healthy and executing properly, and the way that we know they can, this team is one of the best in the NFL. They've got the talent across the board. So I think Brady coming back was definitely great for them for this year, and also going forward, to being able to lock those guys up and put yourself in position. And next year we'll see. I mean, do they roll with Blaine Gabbert? I don't know. Do they want to go with Kyle Trask? Do they maybe package some picks to move up in the first round and grab a quarterback? This is a very quarterback heavy draft, as you guys know, scouting, I'm sure all of them right now. There's a lot of good guys out there, even guys who can be had later in the mid to late first round. Or has this team had that taste of the national spotlight, the taste of winning a championship, being in the playoffs? And do they try to make a splash trade for a veteran? Is Dak enamored with Cooper Rush? I mean, we say that now, but he gave Bledsoe a huge contract, and Tony Romo came in. He gave Tony Romo a huge contract, and Dak came in. Jerry Jones is the weirdest owner in football. He's so fickle, he can make those decisions, and maybe they swing the fence and get a Dak. Maybe someone else pops up that we don't even think is available, and they're able to land that guy. And now they have they have a quarterback in place there. So there's definitely, what if the Raiders, they just recommitted to Carr, but what if they get the second pick, and do you not take a chance on that generational talent? What if Justin Fields becomes available, and in a better offense, he can produce better? There's so many different variables there. I think re-signing Brady for this year, getting the cast of characters back, signing them to long-term deals to keep this team in a window where they can still win championships and still compete at a high level was the right decision to make ultimately. Long-winded. All my answers are long-winded, but yeah.
No, you're good. Well, listen, we appreciate you so much for coming on and talking about this matchup this Sunday. Why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers where they can find you, where they can find your work, and how they can get at you online?
Yeah, definitely. Pewter Report is where all my work is going to be at Pewter Report on Twitter, Pewter Report TV on YouTube, and then pewterreport.com. My Twitter handle is right there at JC Allen NFL. Follow me. Listen, I'm a football fan first and foremost. I love learning about different teams, the NFL in general. So if the team I cover, the team I root for, were just gone off the face of the earth, I'd still be a football fan. I'd still want to learn as much as I can about different teams. So if you're like that and you want to learn about the Bucs, keep in touch with the Bucs, what's going on, and just be a well-rounded football fan. Follow me. I'm your one-stop shop for everything. We've got great, awesome coverage. I've got a great show on Tuesdays. I sit down with a Bucs player every week. This week was Tristan Wirfs, and he actually was talking about Brian Burns. He's like, Brian Burns, man, he presents a problem. He's fast. He's like, I know he's going to try to put a spin move on me at one point. So, I mean, that's a matchup that they have a lot of respect for. I think maybe see a jersey swap this week. I told him, like, hey, they're fire sailing over there. So he may not be there at the end of the season. I don't think they move him, but just in case, you might want to get that jersey swap with him. So, I think that this is going to be a fun game. I think the Bucs can get right. I'm not at a score prediction yet. I definitely think the Bucs win, probably by at least 10. But it's going to be interesting to watch. But that's where you can find me. That's where you can follow all of our work, everything at Pewter Report. I appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
Yeah, man, we thank you so much for coming on. JC, you've been incredible, and thanks so much for joining the C3 Panthers podcast.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Do not look at Britney Spears' Twitter right now. Woo!
Oh, God.
What?
Yeah, she wild right now.
Oh, guess what? No, that's the
straight
first
there
thing
right
I'm
now.
doing.
Straight.
That's the
All right,
first
guys,
thing I'm doing.
Look, this week the Panthers do face the Buccaneers. It's going to be a tough challenge, but guess what I just did? I went on PrizePicks tonight, and tonight was the last night. We've been advertising this. We advertised this on Friday Free for All. Is you get the free, you got the free square for Steph Curry. So if you go to PrizePicks and you use the promo code Panthers, you get a 100% first time deposit bonus. And this week, this is what I did, guys. I just put this in the other last night. I went against the Panthers, which is kind of the smart thing to do. And that is, here we go. Look at my entries right here. Oh, and I got to talk about last night's game. I'm so mad. I got Steph Curry for my free square right here, and Tom Brady more than 267 yards passing against the Panthers. I feel good about that, right? As Tom Brady's been putting up numbers. Last night, I kind of got screwed with a free square because the game got rained out, and I don't think the guy pitched today, or they don't play. I think you got to redo it. But look at this, guys. PrizePicks, man. It is such an awesome way to watch football. You go to PrizePicks, you put in the promo code C3, and you get a 100% deposit bonus for your first time. You put in it's daily fantasy sports where you can make money and you can have a great time doing it. Now, I will tell you this, is things hurt. They hurt bad when you think you nail it. You think you nail it. I thought this is I put in this prize pick. I'm going to put in $15 to win 75. That's a great return, right? Like I'm sitting there going, man, I'm going to take this 15 and I got this because I said, man, Christian McCaffrey, last week I forecast on the show that Christian McCaffrey was going to get the ball, and he was going to get the ball a lot. And I told you, Cody, on Friday Free For All, while you were eyeballing the DJ Moore receptions, I was like, man, look at that Christian McCaffrey number. Look at that Christian McCaffrey. This is going to be a Christian McCaffrey show. You know Ben McAdoo's going to passive-aggressive, and he did. Steve Wilkes wants to run the ball. So Christian McCaffrey goes out and crushes those 60 yards like in the first half, basically. You know, boom. See the green mark there. I am getting done with dinner last night. I'm like, I'm going to go watch this Monday night football game because I got a lot of people in fantasy in it. I got these 2 daily prize picks. I get in the car, turn on the radio. Russell Wilson has already scored on the first possession of the game. He had 112 or 120 yards passing in the first quarter.
Yeah. 10 for 10.
And I had to, 10 for 10. And I had to get 240. He needed to get 246 total yards, rushing and passing. I spoke this, and I think I jinxed myself totally. I said, "Oh, I got this. Mm-hmm. This is the best case scenario because now Herbert is going to have to throw because they're behind." And guess what he did? He threw 57 times. 57 times.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, I'm about to get this." The whole game goes by. Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos fell asleep in the second half. I heard a stat that they didn't have a single passing yard in the second half. I don't know if that's true.
I think they only had 5 total passing yards in the whole second half. It was
something insane, right? Whereas I should have won this. So then on top of that, the game goes to overtime. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess there's this one last ditch effort. Both of these quarterbacks just need to get 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, man, I need this field goal kicker to miss this kick. Everything kept popping up to where I still was in it. And a one-legged kicker came out and won the game. How did Justin Herbert throw the ball 57 times and not get 263 passing yards? Insanity.
That's a record. It's a record. It's the most passes thrown. It's the least amount of yards for the most passes thrown in the game. It's not the most passes ever thrown, but for throwing that many passes, it's the least amount of yards ever gained.
What a jerk, because I would have turned $15 into 75 if these guys wouldn't have been a bunch of schlubs. But PrizePicks has made watching football ridiculously fun. Daily fantasy football sports, the way it is you put in multiple entries. You got to put at least 2 entries in from different teams. And like I said, these are my entries so far tonight. I got the Steph Curry and Tom Brady. $5 turns into 15. You add more entries to that number continues to go up a lot. So you guys get on PrizePicks and you use the promo code C3 and up to $100 on your first time deposit, they will match it. You put in $100, they give you an extra $100 in promotional money, which is real money, but you got to play with it. They don't let you just cash it out. You got to play with it. But you take that money. I saw somebody, I was hanging out with somebody who's using PrizePicks. They had $900 in their account. Not Cody and Tony. So this is not daily fantasy football advice. This is you seeing how we do it. And maybe you can do better. If you do better, let us know. Use that promo code C3 and care about our sponsors, just like Just Don't Care cares about the C3 Panthers podcast with another patron saint in the house. Just Don't Care does care about the C3 Panthers podcast with the $5 super bomb. The chat, guys, we've talked about the Bucks. We've done PrizePicks. We've talked about Robbie Anderson. What's next, Cody?
You know what I think is next? You know, we have a bunch of people that come in here, and they like to hear us talk about Panthers football. Duh, that's obvious. But you come for the Panthers football, you stay big heaping helping of shame. Why don't you go ahead and just talk to him, Big Papa?
Oh, you want to talk? You want to talk to the chat? I do. I want to say something to you, and I want to say something real good. I don't know what that means. But you've come in here to talk about Robbie Anderson being a punk, as Cody Lackney would say. Talk about the Carolina Panthers absolutely sucking, and maybe Christian McCaffrey not being a Carolina Panther anymore. But you come in here, you sit here for 3 hours, you don't hit that like button? I have one thing to say to all you absolute legends. Subscriber shame.
$140 strong viewers, 83 thumbs up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. Help us whoop up on that YouTube algorithm. Let them know who's boss. So the C3 Panthers podcast can be seen by as many Panthers fans as possible. Tony Dunn, would you like to jump into some cat calls?
I'd love to hear from the C3 family. You can call into the show at 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Let us know what you think about Robbie Anderson, the trade, why we couldn't get more. Is Robbie really brilliant? Matt Rule, he's no longer one of us. What do you think about his manifesto? What do you think about this team? I thought Tin Tizzy had a great comment that Steve Wilkes is trying to get PJ Walker out of there. And so we want to hear your thoughts on that. Call in at 252-228-5098. Let's go, Cody.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
I can't hear that, Tony.
Yeah, I can't hear it either.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
You don't hear anything?
No.
Mm-mm.
I'm not blaming Steve Wilkes, man. Like,
Start it over.
Sorry. Yeah. I thought I was all over it, too.
What's good, fellas? It's Corey calling in. I called in to slander some folks. No, I'm just kidding. But not really. I just wanted to get my kind of takes on the game. And I kind of, it was Monday. You see the discourse and just kind of like Panther fans' reaction to everything. I'm not blaming Steve Wilkes, man. Like, the screen passes, just the anemic offense. I don't think people like folks. Y'all got to realize how bad PJ Walker is. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not good enough to be in the NFL. The only reason he's in the NFL is because he got another last second chance after the XFL disbanded. His college coach took a flyer on him and then re-signed him again after Matt Corral got injured. Like, he wouldn't have even been on this team if Matt Corral didn't have a season-ending surgery. He was
True.
2-0 as a Panther starter. For those 2 wins, he did absolutely nothing, and I'm pretty sure he threw multiple interceptions in both games. He's not that guy. He's going to throw interceptions, take the ball out of his hands. And I'll be 100% honest, Steve Wilkes, I don't think he had anything to do with any play calling yesterday, so I don't feel like I'm not sitting here saying he deserves all these different opportunities or whatever, but nothing that happened yesterday was his fault. Like, we still don't know anything about that man. So let's just hold off. He could be good. He could be not good. He's most likely 99% not going to be our head coach next year anyway. But the fact of the matter is I'm not blaming him. Another thing, like the Robbie thing, I saw a tweet from 4-Man Rush. Shout out to them. I don't want to just come off like I'm like slandering them or anything, because I don't really listen to their content. But, you know, I see them a lot on Twitter. They get a lot of engagement. But the, like, I saw too, they was kind of saying like Robbie's the first player to get thrown under the bus. You know, he cares about winning and he's frustrated with the team and all. Like, that's bullshit, bro. I'm not hearing none of that. Like, I don't know where Robbie's getting this benefit of the doubt from. Like, yeah, you can, like, of course, he cares about winning. Cool. Like, that's great. But you watch his press conference, that shit was not about the team, man. He was mad because he got taken out. Because he feels like him being in there gives the team the best chance to win, which honestly, great. You feel that way, but you haven't shown anything for us to reflect that. And for you to ball your fist up and get in the coach's face and whoop, holla, like we had Steve Smith, man, the somebody who was on terrible teams, hot-headed as you can get, somebody whose competitive drive was as hard as you can get. Motherfucking knocked his own team out a couple times. You never saw him get in the coach's face like that. I might have a part 2 to this call if y'all doing it, but hold on, let me get something in.
Can that be called tonight? The first one,
Hey, dude. Everything he said,
yeah, 100%.
was spot on, man. It's entitled. It was all about himself. It's always been about himself. Like what CK earlier when he was trying to get to the Pro Bowl, when he was losing with the Jets, or, you know, when he was yelling at Sam on the sideline. That was because he missed him. You know, he was the first one to come down on Baker. He's fought other coaches before. It's like, yeah, man, Robbie was 100% about himself. And at the end of the day, he wasn't worth the trouble that he was causing. So, yeah, man, shout out to Corey. Fantastic call.
And I don't want to hear that, I'm a winner and I'm competitor and all of that. Your whole team sucks. And he goes, I just want to win a Super Bowl. Well, that's why you're trying to get traded, homie. Somebody said in the chat, they said they want to know what he said to their coach on his way out. You know, and I can tell you this
from
is
Maxwell Irwin with the $5 love bomb says, I just want to know what was said as Robbie left the field.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you what he told the cop that arrested him when he was going 105 miles an hour and ran 2 red lights when he was back with the New York Jets. After he ran 2 red lights and finally stopped, Anderson said that he was going to find his wife, F her, and nut in her eye. That's what he told the cop.
Dude, I remember that. Now that you say it, I remember it.
And then he wrote, he said, I'm flaming right now. Nah, man, I swear. So, Robbie Anderson, I can tell you whatever he said was colorful and probably needed some interpretation to understand, you know, because we listen to, you know, he's funny, man. I think he's funny. It's like, he's like, when they ask him these questions, he's like, business, Matt Rule. He's just like ridiculous in so many ways, but fine. He's going to get paid $1 bazillion. I am just totally upset that I'm the only person in the world. Or actually, I'm going to say this is for anybody defending the actions, then they think he's better than he is. That's what it is.
For sure.
I don't. The one thing I disagree with what Jay Stu said is count your blessings for your career. Nah, like his career actually had a lateral, if not improved move. He's going to go play with Kyler Murray now.
That's what he's saying. He's saying count your blessings. Like you've been blessed multiple times. Make sure you look after that.
Yeah, but he said if they wouldn't have had that injury, he wouldn't have been blessed. And like, I think we still would have been traded. He's still making $29 million guaranteed.
Well, I think he doesn't mean he still would have been traded, but it may not have been the next day. Like if this Arizona injury doesn't happen, do you think Arizona's picking him up the next day? I think that's what he means.
I would hope that if I was the Panthers, what I would have done is just made him inactive for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
it's just not giving him a hat each game, put the other guys in, and then traded them when the team was really ready to give you something. I feel like the Panthers were just like, screw it, we'll just pay. I mean, like, and that's where I don't like is like the Panthers not only cut bait, but they don't even try to pick the good bait out of the bait bucket. They just throw the whole bucket overboard for all of these decisions. Like it's like while people talk about all right, actually I did want to bring this up and we're going to go back to the calls. I want you guys to think about this. Is Brian Burns, he mentioned this in the jersey swap. Is Brian Burns, we hear Christian McCaffrey's name. Is Brian Burns a name that you think the Panthers are willing to shop? I think he's the most interesting player from an outside team that you could add, probably more so than Christian McCaffrey. So if I was a GM, that's who I'd be calling about. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Daniel again. I won't be completely honest with you guys. I didn't even watch the game this Sunday. You know, at the beginning of the season, when I told my wife football season is back, she replied, you know, to me and my kids. She said, "Oh, great, Sundays are gone again." And with this season, you know, and then that hitting home again when this Sunday, I say, you know what, forget it. I'm going to take this Sunday and I'm going to spend quality time with the family. This is not worth it. And thank goodness that's what I did, because this would have been bad for me. But anyway, gentlemen, after watching the highlights and everything, it's the same dumpster fire. You know what are we going to do? You know what? I'm waiting for news. Somebody getting fired, somebody's head. You know, something happening and nothing still. This is crazy. We're the laughing stock of the NFL. I'm tired. I'm frustrated, you know. And then watching like people like Brian Burns defending Matt Rule. Yeah, I'm sure he's a great man. I'm sure, you know, he's a great family guy. You know, but this is the NFL. You know, this is a business. This is wins versus losses. If you're not producing wins, you know, you've got to go. This is not, are you a good guy? I keep you here because you're a good guy, even though that's what it seems to be happening. This is a joke. You know, this is a joke. And something has to happen. Something's got to give. You know, I think all of us Panther fans are just, we don't even know. We're numb. We're just numb.
This is the scariest part to me.
Anyway, gentlemen, as always, thank y'all for what y'all do.
Man, we appreciate the support, dude. You guys keep calling in. I understand that this can get like that, but we're going to get you through it, right? Not just us. All of us are going to lock arms together and get through this because, look, I mean, there could be years of this to come. Like, we got to find ways to keep our fan interest up. We're going to be creative going forward. Don't you worry. We're going to continue to bring you dynamic content despite some of the adversity the Carolina Panthers are facing. And we'll find some silver linings in this. One, let's remember, Matt Rule is no longer here. The experiment, he's no longer one of OOU. He's He's no longer one of us. And thank goodness, now we can potentially start something on a sounder foundation. Now, I mean, I hate to be a kick a dog when he's down, but really, it's not right now. The culture, the situation of the Carolina Panthers is not good. We are primed for the number 1 pick, so don't you forget that. And there's going to be a lot of speculation. And I guess we could have the biggest C3 Panthers draft party ever. And it also be the shortest.
Yeah.
We don't even have to watch the whole draft if we don't want, finally.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredible.
I feel like we'll also probably know who that pick is, fairly early.
We could be done by like 8:15.
I mean, it's basically, if it's number 1, it's basically between 2 players, right? And like you said,
we're there's going to be some quarterback from North Dakota State who can throw a football through a piece of plywood, and Cody's going to be like, traits. Bryce Young, too short. The number's 252.
No. Cody's going to see another position like middle linebacker that he much prefers to draft, and then hope Matt Corral turns out to be the guy.
Oh,
that's
God.
The
then we'll have to hear that.
Hey, you know, realistically, if Matt Corral didn't get injured, this was his fantasy season. Like,
bro,
what kind of a starter would you want to be? You get drafted by a team. They don't start you. They have 2 guys ahead of you. Both those guys get injured or playing horrible. This was his chance.
This was the
to Tom Brady
situation.
The worst timed injury for a career that could ever happen.
Yeah,
I still blame Matt Rule. And no, I don't want to fight about it because I'm set in stone, dude. I'll die on that fucking.
Because he probably won't be a Carolina Panther. Now, like, I mean, like, the odds are he just won't. Right? Is that
or he'll just be relegated to a backup role.
Yeah,
or we have an old RG3 Kirk Cousins combo, and we get to trade somebody in 2 years.
Maybe.
You know, it's not bad having a high talented quarterback that has some intrigue and some mystery to him. He comes out there and plays well in the preseason. You never know what kind of interest you could generate. You could be getting the next Jimmy G type acquisition for the future. The number's 252-228-5098.
And happy Monday, C3 Panthers. This is a Link calling from North Alabama again, and he is fired. There's no more Matt the Fool or Rat Rule or whatever anyone wants to call him. He is now no longer a professional NFL head coach. Now we have Steve Wilkes, who we are all knew he would be the guy. We'll see how it goes from here. Now it's time to look at the draft, unfortunately, because even with this change, I don't know if we can get it done with Baker Bumfield not be able to throw a ball at all, and with his taped up ankles, and PJ's not the answer. Maybe we need to get, what's his name, Eason, off the practice squad and have him play. Man, I just
let's talk about this.
Damn. Well, I look forward to seeing the podcast and seeing everyone's reactions. Keep pounding.
Timely call.
So, I feel a certain type of way about this, Tony. I'm saying it's Jacob Eason season, baby. That's right. I don't give a damn about any of those other half-wits. You know why? He's tall. He's tall. He's a tall drink of water. And frankly, right now, that's all I give a damn about, dude. He can see over the line of scrimmage. The dude has a big-time arm. He can push the ball downfield. And even though we barely got to see him play, I felt like the offense kind of moved in a better rhythm during that little bit of time that we saw Jacob Eason than we did PJ Walker. And at this point, what do we have to lose, man? Hand off the ball to Christian McCaffrey. Do some play-action passes. I'm telling you, man, the lack of play-action passes in this offense is a crime against humanity. You have players set it off. If you're going to be running the football that much, take some play-action passes to trick the defense and push the ball downfield. I feel like all of our quarterbacks would be in a much better situation if they did decide to do that, but they're not. So listen, I frankly just want to see a passing attack. That's all I want to see. So, hey, man, I'm on the Jacob Eason train, baby. I'm not calling him a savior or going to save our season, but maybe we'll be able to move the ball through the air for once and not have to be completely dependent on running Christian McCaffrey for 4 quarters.
Cody, I just put up a link to an Instagram video in the private chat. If you could pull that up, is the Carolina Panthers are, and this is the title of the show, in a quarterback conundrum, the great quarterback conundrum. You've got Baker Mayfield, who has been terrible. I'm telling you this. I pulled up. Oh gosh, did I put him? I still got him up. So I pulled up the top passing stats in the league when we were talking about Tom Brady earlier, and then I just tried to find Baker Mayfield's on the list. And now this is kind of crazy. It's bizarre to me that he only has 3 less passing yards than Tannehill. That Tannehill must be having a sleepy season. Cooper Rush has more passing yards than Baker Mayfield. But this is the fun one to me. Bailey Zappi. He right now has 596 passing yards. I think that's through 2 games or 1.5 games or something like that. Right? And this guy is 51 for 70 with a 72.9 completion rate, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bailey Zappi could turn out to be best in class as the Carolina Panthers are going through the worst first-round picks in the history of the world. Baker Mayfield, not the history of the world, but that had to have been the worst, one of the worst classes. Baker, or at least, was Josh Rosen in that class?
It was the most It was the most horribly scouted quarterback class because it was Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
Oh,
after Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Rosen.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right. And Cody Lashney was on it. He loved some Josh Allen from day one. Lamar Jackson, man, I think he's gonna. I put out a short yesterday. I think this is what we should do. I think we should just fully guarantee Lamar Jackson's 6-year contract, bring in Greg Roman, and let's roll with that offense next year. But we're trying to figure out who's going to play quarterback next week. Here's DJ Moore asked about it.
So it comes down to just being a team player at the end of the day, and just being on top of everything, and just being you at the end of the day. Steve, just basically what Coach.
Was that not it? That's not the right. Did you pause it, or was that the end?
No, that was it.
So it come down to.
Yeah, that's what
is it? Hold on. You got to hear. Let's see. Maybe it's this one.
The Panthers will not win another football game until they remove that fucking ping pong table, bro. It's gotta go, dude. Every time I hear it, it just sends a chill up my spine, dude. Like, quit playing ping pong. Ugh,
everywhere you hear it. Did you hear it in that one? I didn't hear it in that one, but I mean, obviously you're talking about it's in every single one. All right, here's the one that I wanted to play right here. As we're trying to figure out who the Carolina Panthers are picking at quarterback. Actually, I'm going to put the slideshow up real quick. I think I got it up here for later in the show. This is Steve Wilkes. This is from Joe Person in The Athletic. He said, while Baker Mayfield received some discouraging news on his high ankle sprain, Sam Darnold looks ready to return from an MRI on Mayfield's left ankle following a Friday week workout revealed ligament damage. And Wilkes said his status is week to week when he was asked if Baker, basically he doesn't know who's going to be starting. We're trying to figure it out. And now this is what DJ Moore's insight was on it.
That's the same link.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
It looks the same.
The same exact letters?
It looks, the lettering looks
same
exactly the
link.
same, yeah.
I opened it up. I got them both. They're the exact same.
It's where they ask him who the. Okay. God, well, where is it? It's the one where he says this. He couldn't even remember Jacob Eason's name. That's what I was just trying to say. He said, they were like, how do you feel? He said, is it going to be Baker? Is it going to be Sam? Is it PJ?
Or is it the other guy?
And he goes, who's the other guy? And they go, Jacob.
He's like, I know
so
his name.
Jacob Eason, he doesn't know who it is, Cody. That's what I was trying to get to. Well, that was a big fail. That was a big fail. Should we go on to another call?
Yeah, let's do that. And then let's after this next call, let's talk about CMC for a sec.
All right, sounds good.
Guys, this is Chad from Charleston here. Calling in. I'm excited and happy. Matt Rule has been fired.
We just heard this one.
Nothing against the guy, nothing personal. In fact, actually, I think he's a good guy, just not meant to be an NFL coach. I'm sure he'll get a good job in college and be fine. But moving forward, I really like the idea. I think we're going to fall down, have a top 1 or 2 pick. We're looking at a pretty good pace there. Hopefully, we'll sell some assets. I really would only keep Ikwanu and Horn. They would be my untouchables. Everyone else could be traded. We won't trade everybody, but Ty McCaffrey, Moore, all those guys, sell them some way you can get something for them. Derek Brown, 50-50 on him, probably keep him too. But anyway, looking at coaching candidates, I'm just curious where everybody thinks what direction we'll go. I really, really like the idea of if we can get a number 1 or 2 pick, getting a quarterback there and bringing in Ken Dorsey from Buffalo, first-time head coach. It's very risky, but I know the program he's been in. Smart guy, high level offensive coordinator. Anyway, just curious. That's a risky pick, but one that I really like and one that I think we should consider. Great show, guys. Appreciate it.
I have a comment to make. I know a lot of people are on this sell, and I don't blame you, but here's the thing. What is the one thing we always complained about with Cam Newton? That we didn't put the weapons around him, right? So what you're asking for us to sell the farm is to take the weapons that we actually do have and then not have any of those weapons for a potential number 1 overall draft pick like CJ Stroud or any of these guys. I think right now you want to bring a team that has already got some cohesiveness with one another, bring them in, and then there's going to be it's when you look at the most successful franchises, most of them have built their team up and then introduced the franchise guy, right? You look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady for that matter came into a bit of a solidified situation up there in New England, right? There's so many things that I could see where the appeal is to let go of these guys, but at the end of the day, you're asking to just basically bank on the next guys being better than the guys we have now. And we know what we have with these guys. Like, getting rid of them is basically just a gamble in and of itself. We know we're going to need a new quarterback. Let's let that new quarterback come in here and turn this team into a playoff team, because right now we're not that far away, guys. We're not. We're a good coach, a good offensive coordinator, and a quarterback away. That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
I hear you, man. The Panthers Nation is split down the middle.
Well, how about this? Let's talk about it in the most informed manner here. Is like, I think there's a difference between the full-on fire sale and trading away certain assets that could get you something right now where they're at their highest value at this moment and will give you a lower return in the future. Now, this is a name that I'm kind of with CK on this one. I kind of like I'm with White Chocolate Espresso, my bastard son, when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, is that I don't know. He's such a good player, and could be he's been the best player on our team when he's out there by far, right? Is that I don't know if you're going to be able, you kind of not stuck with him, like you've already paid him. So I actually think I don't think Derek Brown. I don't think any of the young players. Maybe Jeremy Chin, and I hate to say that, but just because he's going into free agency soon because he was a second-round pick, I think the real name is Brian Burns, and I know that's going to be people are going to be upset with that, but I think that you need to not think about who the player is at this moment, but are you going to sign them? Are you going to extend Brian Burns? That's the first question. If the answer is no, then you only get him from 1 year at the most, right? If the answer is yes, the next question is, will he sign here? And will you have to overpay him to keep him here because there are more attractive destinations. But let's talk about this Christian McCaffrey and who is the most tradable. Right now, there's some odds about who would be most interested in trading for Christian McCaffrey. Greg's Buffalo Bills are at the top. I would thought this was surprising. Miami Dolphins, 5-1 favorites. What do you think about this list, Cody?
I mean, listen, the Buffalo Bills to me are the best possible destination for Christian McCaffrey, and I still hope that if it does happen, that's who it's for. I think you're talking about a late first round pick, and let's be real, that's all the Panthers are going to get. I mean, that's really all the Panthers are going to get. I'm about to read you all this thread that comes from Charles Robinson. He's an NFL executive. You probably know him. He's the voice on Madden. I mean, this guy he's done it all. I believe this is the same Charles Robinson. But this is about Christian McCaffrey and everything going on surrounding his trade. A handful of teams are interested, but not pushing hard yet to deal for McCaffrey. The interest has been more of a checking in with Carolina after the initial Bills report to see if he's actually getting shopped. At the moment, the Panthers are in listening mode with CMC. The whole Bills deal with McCaffrey stemmed back to when Buffalo called about him in the offseason, but that never went anywhere, and it was totally dead until this point in the season. Even the Bills are in more of a monitoring mode than anything, and call us mode. In terms of the franchises interested in McCaffrey, I'm told it's teams that are running back away from either being complete or being a Super Bowl contending team in 2022. Bills are interested but slow playing it. I believe the 49ers are firmly in that mix too. Compensation-wise, now this is the interesting thing to me. Compensation-wise for McCaffrey, I think multiple first-rounders chatter is a reflection of what Panthers owner David Tepper would like, but not what the market is. I don't believe any team would surrender 2 firsts. Maybe a first-rounder plus another pick or assets is possible. To be clear, the Panthers aren't looking to tear down, fire sale, like what you said, Tony. They'll likely deal a player or two that were rule guys, but want to keep this young core together, especially on defense. They also believe McCaffrey is a helpful player for whatever the future coach / young quarterback is. I think the Panthers deal McCaffrey if trade yields assets that helps the team land one of the elite quarterback prospects in the 2023 draft. If dealing CMC doesn't produce enough capital to help with that, likely including a first rounder, he likely sticks in Carolina past the deadline. To answer a question, yes, I think from the right team, McCaffrey can draw a first rounder. Remember, most teams have 14 to 15 first round grades in the draft. The teams are going after McCaffrey are aiming to win a Super Bowl and pick late in the first. Teams don't have 32 first round grades. So that was a mouthful, but there's a lot of truth to that. And in that, I think that David Tepper is probably a part of the inflation of Christian McCaffrey's worth, trying to make sure that he has, enough recompensation. If you're going to give the most popular on the Panthers, and then on top of that, they said they want to keep the defensive core intact,
which is smart.
And that makes sense to me. Right.
I mean, you got time on Derek Brown. He's fine. Like, you don't want to just let these players get good and then move them away. You're in the prime of a Derek Brown
team.
J.C. Horn, those first round picks, those top talents right there are the teams. You're not going to get as much for them as what they're going to give you, because the one thing about draft picks and assets is that it's also just potential. Right. It's not real and actualized potential until these guys produce. And how many are actual misses in the draft all over the board, right? So there's a risk to it. So you got to make sure that that risk is negated by the compensation that you're able to get. And if you got young players that are like top graded talents, you could build around that. You need to be thinking about people with contracts, people that you don't see a fit in the future. That's why Robbie Anderson can be moved, right? It's because the future there is not with Carolina. Right. So you'll see. We'll probably look at some of those players, but we don't really have a ton to offer people. That's the other thing. We don't really have a ton to offer unless you think that somebody wants Brady Christensen or something.
None that are worth high value that are not on rookie contracts, you know.
Right. All right, let's go to the next call.
CP3, what's going on, fellas? Yeah, I just want to talk about the 45 yards passing in 3 quarters. That's not going to get it. That's not going to cut it.
No.
I don't know what they're doing, but 45 yards in 3 quarters, that's not going to cut it. If that's the way that we're going to be looking going forward with just a bunch of short screen passes and never really taking a shot down the field, just, I guess, playing it safe, we're going to be in for a long season, fellas. But that, whatever Wilt's game plan for today, that wasn't it. That was not it. Let me know what you guys think. Keep pounding.
I thought it was Drew from the Friday Free For All that tweeted something to me. I cannot find it. But it was like the number of passes where only one went beyond the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Did you see that stat or something like that?
Yeah, I can find PJ Walker's passing chart.
Like it was like the most crazy. That just like it didn't even. I mean, I knew it was bad, but good God, when you look at it like that, and is that an effort to just say this? I mean, look, PJ Walker said that game plan's not going to fly, and you know, I wonder what the Panthers are trying. The statement was there. I really, you know, and here in the other way though, is it wasn't that they just didn't open the passing game up. They tried twice, but like the 2 times he tried to throw it, they were just completely off the mark, right? If you see those 2 passes that are down the sidelines there.
There's 4 passes there past the line of scrimmage. Oh, maybe.
Yeah, no, only one completed beyond the line of scrimmage.
And it was actually kind of on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, it is. That mess is
literally
awesome.
9 out of 11 passes completed were behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
You cannot make this shit up. The Panthers unequivocally have the worst quarterback situation in all the NFL, and I hear nothing more of it, dude. PJ Walker is not the answer. He never has been. I mean, really, that's why at this point, none of us really believe in Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. That's why I'm on Team Eason, baby. At least he can stay over the line of scrimmage, and at least he has a big arm to hopefully connect downfield to guys like DJ Moore and potentially, hopefully, even guys that haven't gotten their chance yet.
Actually, you know what? I want to put PJ in.
No.
Fuck it. Like, man, come on. Like, what are we going to go do? What's winning one game going to win for us? Yeah. I want to thank Corey for his support. He called in. He had the call of the night so far, according to Greg. I've got your second call chambered, but we're trying to move to a 1-call format and trying to power through and get through everybody's perspectives. If we get through the calls fast enough tonight, I will come back to it. We'll chamber it for a later date. But we thank you for your support and for calling in at 252-228-5098. We want to get everybody in. Let's go to the next call.
Hey, crew. This is the AU Link. After exhausting 4-day weekend. Go! Sorry about that, guys. Idiot almost trying to hit me in the rear. After exhausting 4-day weekend, shooting machine guns and all sorts of other nastiness, it was fun. I come home on Sunday exhausted to watch my Panthers play, and we saw what happened on the field. My word, that was miserable. Just from what I'm thinking, they do not trust Walker to throw anything beyond 2 yards. And I think Wilkes is just hoping that Sam Darnold will be better prepared for later. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know. I'm really pulling for Wilkes because he's a local guy for the Panthers. And I think he's smart. And without our defensive players, they're all out. We had, 3 of our stars out? It's kind of hard to even compete when your defense, which is your best group, doesn't have any star power except for Brian Burns. So we'll have to see what happens next week, but look forward to seeing the podcast. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Thank you for the
Don't
support.
Get into a
That's-
wreck, brother.
I know that's AU Link. He was on the Friday free for all just a week or two ago when we were up there. Cool Panther fan calling in at 252-228-5098. I wanted to go back to those tweets you read out that you said, "Oh, that's a mouthful." Basically, that's an article in a thread.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was wondering with this is like, could you do that with? I wish you could do that with like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, where the one short went to the next short, like directly. Like
where you could change, like where it'll
like
just
if you
know which one you want next.
Yeah, and so that somebody could watch like a quick story like that if you just put up those comments, because you could really. I think that would be pretty cool. I just don't think that's a functionality, but that's how I would use it. Let's go to the next call.
Hey, T3. This is Panthers Journey. Glad we got Robbie out of there. Honestly, better capital in picks than I thought we would get. You can't blow up like that on the sideline either. It's just bad for business, honestly. I thought in the first quarter, it was smart to, play behind the line of scrimmage on offense. But then you got to let him, throw the ball down the field, or at least give him a chance to. I feel like we never gave the chance for PJ to honestly get going, even if he could. He didn't have the chance. I think, we would be honestly solid if we had any sort of offense. Through 5 games, we're averaging 10 points let up in the first half, which is not bad. In football, if we could, keep up on offense in the first half, I feel like we would have a shot at winning a lot more games. But 10 points a game in the first half is what we're averaging, giving up. So I think McAdoo has to go, obviously, but I just don't think it's going to happen this season. So I'm not optimistic about winning any games. I like Wilkes, I like what he said about, no one's above the program, even himself. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Keep it up.
All right, man. Thank you for your support. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's keep going with these calls.
Yo, it's White Chocolate Espresso.
Hey.
What's up? Yo, I want to talk about the state of this team. Like, this roster is not that bad. Like, if you look at the games we've played so far, we've lost to Cleveland by 2. We've lost to the Giants by 3. The Rams game, going into the fourth quarter, P.J. Walker only had 44 yards passing through 3 quarters. And the start of the fourth quarter, we were still tied 10-10. We had the lead at halftime. If we had a quarterback, like fucking in the top 20, we could be 4-2 easily. I would even throw the Cardinals game in, because if I went on ESPN and I looked up every play-by-play from all the games, and it said at 7:36 left in the third quarter, it was still 50-50 who's going to win the game. And Baker has played through shit through the Cleveland game until the fourth quarter. Played shit like that through the Giants game and the Cardinals and all the other fucking games. This team just, to me, I feel like it's just, honestly, needs a quarterback. Like, that's the glaring hole. defense has gotten 3 touchdowns now throughout the season. It's been really solid. Derek Brown's been a monster. You know, Brian Burns has been getting sacks. Luvu, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ. It's getting frustrating. Like, we just need a quarterback. Just a quarterback now. Teddy would have had this team at 4-2 or 5-1. Like, I'm not even that Teddy guy who constantly brings up Teddy, but he would have. Like, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. It just, yeah. Hopefully, we get a franchise quarterback in the draft. I guess with our first pick. Yeah. Peace.
I mean, he makes a lot of sense. I hear.
It's true.
I hear everything that he's saying. You know, I mean, and I've always heard what he's saying. It's just I don't know if that's the reality of the world that we live in. You know?
It's actually might be the best case scenario for us that we have in so many ways trying to been positioning ourselves for a moment where Matt Rule said this, that they want to get to the point where they could just plop in a quarterback and it's like finally there. Like it's the magic piece, right? It is the fulcrum or whatever that is at the top, the keystone in the arch. It's that Lord of the Rings thing that the guy, like that key that opened up the
volcano key, right?
Yeah,
Cody likes to call it.
Yeah.
Volcano key.
And you don't have to have a ton to get that pick. You don't have to do what San Francisco did. We could just go get the best quarterback. And people who told us to not overreach for a quarterback in the first round like a Malik Willis, everybody said the next quarterback class, it's the one. It's the one. We don't have to do anything but just stay in our lane. PJ Walker, and let's draft a quarterback. Yep. And you're ready to say this is that we could win with a rookie quarterback to a certain degree, but definitely in year 2, you're positioned for a breakout year if that quarterback is the guy, but he has to be that dude. He has to be that dude. Let's go with the next call. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with what you're saying right there, do remember,
sorry.
We had a team that was 1-15. We drafted a number 1 quarterback, and he was offensive player of the year the next year, or offensive rookie of the year next year. So, I mean,
we're in. We don't maybe even need all the picks that people say we need. What we probably just need to do is nail some picks, man. Like we can't have no more Terrace Marshall Juniors. And I know that that's him catching strays, but that just got to work. I don't care if it's him. I don't care whose fault it is it hasn't produced anything. We can't have another 4th or, these picks that just are, we need a 2nd round pick to hit like Jeremy Chin did. Like, so if you could just get your quarterback and one other key player, that's a good addition. That's the most positive improvement we've had in our team in a decade. Yeah. Just those 2 pieces. You might want more, but those 2 pieces alone, if you could get, I would almost just trade the other 2 picks and whatever picks you could accumulate to just get 2 firsts this year and then walk out of there. We'd have the best draft party. We get like a top defensive end in the draft and we get our quarterback, call it a damn weekend.
Yeah. That would be incredible, if we could finally, if the quarterback is the final piece to the puzzle. If we could draft one without having to trade any of our players.
We don't have to.
I like that idea.
I mean, that would be ideal. But what happens if we give up those first round picks for a coach like Sean Payton? And then
we're not going to do that. That's not a reality. That's not a reality. That's a pipe dream. But just what if we just had 2 top 10 picks next year? You just gave away everything. Not everything. You don't give away Christian McCaffrey. You don't got to deal players. Whatever you get, right, in the small deals, you take the Robbie Anderson picks. You take the other 3 picks that we got, the second, the third, the fourth, or whatever rounds they are, and you just say, hey, we'll give you all of this stuff for your top 10 pick.
I don't think you get a top 10 pick out of it, but if you can get a first round, like a top 20, I think, like if you could imagine if we could get a quarterback and pick one and then pick up like a solid linebacker, like number 15.
Ooh,
like
that actually would help us a ton.
You know,
imagine adding
really
Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly in the same, and that's it.
Yeah, just don't draft anymore. And then
wouldn't that help us more than a dude that like Deontay Brown, not Deontay Brown, who was that guy that you used to love from Alabama, Bowser or whatever?
Not me.
The big guy, Cody liked him. The giant dude. We just let him walk, basically. The big.
No, not Bowser.
What is it?
Deontay Brown is on the practice squad.
Which one's
Deontay
the
Brown?
one with the spikes in Mario World? The big
Bowser.
Yeah, that's Bowser. But I've never heard. But that's never heard. No, we referred to him
It's
as
a thing.
Black
Check
Boy.
Twitter. Put his name in and Bowser. All right, let's go. Do you have anything else you want to say, or can we go on the next call and kind of keep that conversation trickling in the background? Think about the draft. That would be awesome. 2 picks now that would not be the fastest draft. That would be the best case scenario for the C3 podcast. We get our quarterback and we talk about the quarterback for an hour and a half, and then all of a sudden we're drafting another player.
Hey, they listen.
But
to us,
the only way that we have 2 top 10 picks is if you trade Brian Burns to a team like Philadelphia, who has the Saints first round pick.
Ooh, check how many picks Kansas City has. They're another target for a Brian Burns player. Look, they have so much draft capital, dude.
Would you do
because of the Tyreek Hill trade?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look it up. Hey, Greg, will you Google it while we go to the next call? Yeah. It's just put in Kansas City draft capital and put in Christian McCaffrey, I think is the
brothers. How y'all doing? G Cavassier.
What up, G?
Hey, man. Robbie's gone, man. Wasn't that quick? Robbie is gone. Went to Arizona. I didn't see that shit coming. Not going to Arizona, you know. And see, with Robbie, I mean, I felt his passion because he wants to win. I understand that. It's the way he came off of doing it. If anybody should be pissed, it should be then DJ Moore. Because DJ Moore, as we all know, is a better wide receiver than you know who. Hey, the reason why I called is, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think McAdoo is safe at OC? Me personally, I don't. My opinion, they should have fired his ass with Matt Rule. And do you see these Temple players and these Baylor players being safe now? I don't know. You know, the trade deadline is coming up, and what the Panthers going to do? You know, I don't know if we're going to try to get some players. I don't know. I just saw that Deshaun Jackson went to Baltimore or something like that. So I don't know if players even want to come here. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. Do you think Ben McAdoo is safe? We'll see. Keep pounding, y'all.
Keep pounding. Great call, G. I definitely don't think he's safe. But I don't think Steve Wilkes is safe. I mean, it of, you know, a joke in this recent press conference with Steve Wilkes when talking about DJ Moore. He talked about how good he is, how good of an asset he is as a blocker, and this is your number 1 wide receiver. I don't think there's one coach in this staff that is guaranteed a job next season. I wouldn't doubt if every single position is filled by someone new, including Ben McAdoo.
Oh, dude, it's going to be complete. And I don't even want to hear the people saying, oh, I'd like to bring in this head coach and keep Wilkes as a DC. Like, it's going to be, we're going to bring in an entire fresh look. And it's going to be the best money can buy. Yeah. It will be that because Tepper can't afford to lose twice. So he's going to go and he's going to, I mean, like, they got to get it right. The number's 252-228-5098.
Evening, boys.
After
Scott from Winston-Salem.
What's
so
that?
It's about 8:30, and I can't remember how many football quarterbacks came out of the ACC just this year, but I think Cody needs to do some film review on Hartman, quarterback for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons.
Yeah, I like
He's had a pretty good year. He threw 6 touchdowns against Clemson. with no picks. Now, Clemson threw, I think the quarterback threw 4. However, it was an overtime game. I was at that game. It was actually pretty good.
Nice.
And secondly, yeah, trading some folks out. Yeah, I agree. But we need to keep like our core 5 or 6 and a good bunch of offensive players. Get rid of the rest of them. Give Wilkes a chance and see what we can do. I'm all for some first-round draft picks. It'd be nice if we got 6 or 7 first-round draft picks and we just kept trading assets to get them, but that ain't going to happen. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be a good show tonight. Like I said, it's about 8:30. I got to get ready to get in bed. I got to get up at 3:30 to go to work. You boys have a good one. Keep pounding. Thanks for what you do.
Sam Hartman's from Charlotte. Or at least that's what it says on ESPN.
Yeah.
And
No,
23 years old. He's playing lights out, bro. He looks real good.
And he's another kind of undersized quarterback, but he has that dog mentality, man. He will put the ball right where it needs to be. He's not afraid of pressure from the pocket. He'll extend the play. I mean, he's a real talent, man. I don't know if I was going to evaluate him. You know, he might be a day 2 pick sometime around 3, around 4 maybe. But I do think that he has a ton of potential. And it'll definitely be interesting to see what he continues to do going forward. There's a lot of, I know we're already talking about the draft, but there's a bunch of good quarterbacks that are coming out.
What about the Tennessee guy?
Draft.
Isn't he old?
And then Hooker.
Is he old?
Yeah, he's 25 years old.
Oh, God. Nope.
But
not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it is.
No, I don't give a damn. I mean, listen, with sports science the way it is now, I wouldn't doubt it in the next, 2 decades, you're going to see a bunch of players playing into their 40s.
Well, because of the
position.
also the COVID year is making this class or two or a little bit older.
Yeah.
Or and at the end of the day, but see, Cody don't remember. He don't remember an old quarterback the Panthers already drafted.
Oh, Wanky.
What?
Wanky.
Chris Winkie won the Heisman and was 28 years old or something like that. And we drafted him in the first round, I think.
Went to Florida State, right?
Yeah.
Well, how about this? Do you remember Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow was also old as shit coming out of the draft.
Not 25, is he? 28?
He was like 20. He was like 24.
Winkie was old. I'm just saying this, and you're using a guy who
Winkie was already
great
bald.
or has been pretty good. Winkie looked like PJ Walker, dude.
Yeah.
We're talking 40 yards. Winkie threw 2. I think I've got it in the notes because I want to make in the offseason. I've been planning on making for like 2 years now the worst games in Panthers history. Actually, it was last year. And I've been doing all the research for a lot of different games, and I went through every loss, and I have like a formula for how I think we should qualify it under 6, shutout, things like this. But there's a game where Chris Winkie threw back-to-back pick sixes. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that even happen? He threw a pick 6 and he came out and did it again. It's like, hey, so let's go to the next call. 252-228-5098.
What's up? C3 fam. How y'all doing today?
Cody.
The one and the only. This is the one and only Cody. What's up, Tony?
I'm only playing one of your calls, Carl. I see 2 more chambered.
Cody the Great.
Appreciate you, brother.
And the man, the voice, the legend, Mr. Cody. And Greg. Cat Daddy.
I'm going to have to play the next call before he gets to the dang call.
Everybody always say what's up to everybody else. They don't seem to give you no love.
Greg, he's the underappreciated
You part of that
member.
I appreciate it, man.
Tag team champions of the world. You deserve just as much love as everybody else, Greg. So I'm going to give it to you.
There you go.
Man, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what's going on, fellas? I'm not sure if y'all got my cat call. Cat call last night. Yesterday, post game, I tried to go back to repeat. I didn't never hear it. You probably did or not.
Get to it, Carl.
But anyway, hey, Cody. Well, okay, before I get to you, Cody. Panther fans, I know everybody, a lot of Panther fans are sad. They're down. They're mad. They're pissed. I even heard some of the cat calls yesterday. Someone was like, sounded disappointed. Hey, if you hear a voice in the background talking about directions, I'm at work, so forgive me for that.
What do you eat for lunch, Carl?
My son, let me pull over right now so I can finish this little cat call.
Literally not going to get to it at all. That's full.
Yeah, I heard some Panther fans, looking so disappointed. All I got to say is, what did they expect? Did they really think that Steve Wilkes taking over, there was going to be this, all of a sudden, a 360 change? The offense was going to be better? The defense was going to be super duper better? I mean,
well, look at that.
I mean,
this is awesome.
What did we think here? What were the expectations?
All right. 3 minutes later, the question is, what did we expect? And you know what? He's right about that. Yeah, like what actually we saw again, that game was mildly entertaining, to be honest. Let's go to the next call. This is Anthony from Charlotte.
What's up, C3? It's Anthony calling in from Charlotte. So it's been a couple days since the last game. I thought I'd think about it. And yeah, like I recouped my thoughts, and being on Twitter and everything, a lot of people, I think there's still, when you look at this team and you look at the way that it's run and how I still didn't see any rookie, players getting involved, obviously besides Kim Aquanu, who's, realistically has been the only rookie who's, done anything for us from this class. I know we had less picks because of the Sam Darnold trade, but you got to play these rookies, man. Why are we fucking around like this? The whole league knows we're the worst team in the league. The fans know. The players know. If any of you guys have listened to Steve Smith, he legit has said, I would ask for a trade after week 2, and I don't blame him. And let me say this, for all the people that keep saying Matt Corral is going to get a chance, listen, I am still a Matt Corral fan. Okay, obviously I wanted Baker to play, but keep Matt Corral here. Draft the rookie. You are not going to sit there and debate about, do we have to take a quarterback here? No fucking shit. Okay, we need to take a quarterback. It's been too long without this missing piece. Even if we don't get someone to the Cam standards, we need stability. And you need to have a quarterback competition.
We need
between
hope.
Those two. No more BS. Just tank the season. Okay, once we're 1-6, I want this talk to stop. Okay, realistically, do the math here.
Yeah.
If we're gonna win a game every 6 games, we're still gonna end up with 3 wins or less. So especially with the schedule getting harder, I don't know, boys, but y'all are the best, man. C3 for life. Like, keep pounding.
Word up, man. Thank
Appreciate
you for that call. It puts us on a great track. And right now, I think White Chocolate Espresso and my bastard son might be trying to get into my family right now because I think I'm with him on this. It's like we talked about in the past season, Cody was ready to trade away like 5 draft picks for Trevor Lawrence. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we don't even need assets then. Just give it, like, if you think about what you were willing to pay for Trevor Lawrence, us just having the number 1 pick in a draft, if you think there's a guy who is of that caliber type player, boom, you're in the best situation possible. We got to stay in our lane. Let's go to this, though. Is Kim Aquanu the best left tackle in the NFL? Boy, oh boy, people, look, we were excited about this pick. We came out of NC State. A lot of people have debated about the 3 top draft picks. Evan Neal, was it Charles Cross, I believe, was the other guy, and Akim Ekwonu being the best left tackles in this class and a better offensive lineman class, a position that the Panthers have needed to fill and fix for some time. 2 weeks of kind of learning how to be a pro. People are like, guard. Oh, Lord. He's not the best one. They're looking at Charles Cross. Oh, Charles Cross over there doing this, right? And then all of a sudden, I look up. Holy cow. Akim Ekwonu has been playing lights out for like 2 weeks now. 3 weeks. Akim Ekwonu, tell me about his performance so far, Cody.
Yeah, so listen, according to all the metrics people, PFF, all the stat guys, they've all been ranting and raving on how good Akim Ekwonu is, man, and he really has come along, and I'm so happy to see it too. So Akim Ekwonu in Week 6, 23 pass blocking snaps, 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressures, 0 hurries allowed. The Panthers rookie hasn't allowed a single sack since Week 2. That's what we need, baby. When is the last time to depend on our left tackle for anything?
Don't forget, he did that against San Francisco as well.
I don't want to take away from how well he's done. And the no sacks since Week 2 is a great stat. But the other stuff from Week 6 is just a buffer. Because didn't we just go over a stat where he had 4 passes past the line of scrimmage? I mean, it's a little easier to protect and have no pass, nobody rushing the quarterback or no sacks when there's literally 0.75 seconds and the ball snapped. And
Right,
man, that's a fair point.
You know,
it's a fair point, but it's also not. It's if you want to talk about
negative stat.
Sure,
it's not a negative stat. You're right.
But let's also keep in mind that when we're talking about what happened 2 weeks ago against the 49ers, he was going up against a great defensive end set, and he was scored the highest of any left tackle in the entire NFL all year. Like that's
Bosa
how well
did
he
get hurt in that game, man.
Not until the second half.
It's like I said, I don't want to take away from it because he is doing well, but that all those bullet points right there from Week 6 are just kind of icing on the cake to make it look really, really, really good. It's very impressive, but that makes it look like the best in the NFL ever. Impressive when you put that up there. It's just not quite there yet.
Here it is.
How about this? He has shown progress to the very comfortable seeing him continue to grow and continue to get better. And I think you can make the case that once we finally do fix this quarterback position, it no longer seems like Akim Ekwonu is in over his head. And it did very, very early in this season.
Think about this, folks. The most important positions on a roster, left tackle. We got it. Check. Cornerback, J.C. Horn. Check. Quarterback, #1 draft pick. Check. And what we need is a premier defensive end.
Yep.
And I don't even know, and I'm not saying Brian Burns isn't good, but we're talking Brian Burns is the minimum of what we need there.
Right.
Could we attack free agency since we can draft a quarterback and get a defensive end? Could you swoop in and get Nick Bosa instead of them extending them? One of the things we're talking about is will Brian Burns want to stay with Carolina? Is there somebody we could potentially woo with money?
Maybe.
With them dollar bills.
Who's coming up next year? Do y'all know defensive ends coming up next year?
I don't think so. I mean, I think like some of these players are going to continue to get re-signed by their own team. Particularly, I think like it's a far cry for the 49ers let Bosa go.
Yeah, too early to tell.
You know, yeah. But maybe we don't just have to think about the draft only. Right? If you don't need to go get a quarterback, screw it, man. I don't know. The question is, are you ready to roll with a rookie quarterback straight from the get-go? What else we got, Cody?
Yeah, so I'm going to let you lead on this, and we'll talk about this, and then we can finish out all the cat calls as far as I'm concerned. Let's talk about the Matt Rule manifesto.
Oh, my goodness. last week, or maybe just a few days now, more and more kind of things are starting to creep out. Not as inflammatory as we had hoped in some ways. We have yet to get the crazy Matt Rule story. This is probably as wild as it gets, right? Like a wild cherry Pepsi type story. Is that Jonathan Jones published something this past week where a 3-page document was, they came across it, which we still haven't seen. I want to see it, folks. But something that Matt Rule wrote as he was becoming the Carolina Panthers coach. And he had some points in there that he wanted to make. One of them, he said this, is Pepsi tastes like Pepsi 24 hours a day. We have a brand at the Panthers. This brand defines us both on the field and in everyday life. We are the toughest, hardest working, most competitive team in the NFL. Man, that hurts. It hurts reading it. But here, I'm not going to overly smash on this dude for writing an essay. Like, I'm all right with people trying to articulate things. But the irony of this is we're the least competitive team in the NFL.
Sure.
And the brand, it's like this is fun speak, right? It's like it's a sales pitch right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sales pitch.
Can I do something? Because we didn't get a chance to do this for Greg already. Greg, would you like to just stand up and take a bow?
What's that? Oh, no, I'm good. I'll raise the hammer. I know exactly what point you're getting at, but I'll raise the hammer.
I mean, just Greg called it. Day one, Matt Rule's speech. Greg was like already onto this guy. And we're all just telling Greg, yo, you're
I know,
crazy,
we were just
bro.
cracking Pepsis.
Everybody's just telling Greg how stupid he is, and not stupid, but like how ridiculous it is that, you know.
Don't be such a Debbie Downer,
Don't be
Greg.
a Debbie. He's our new
Oh, yeah,
coach.
this
Let's
is the
just believe
future.
in
We're going
him
to
and-
get it going. Look, he's so highly sought after by other teams, and they were going to pay them. Oh, guess what? There's other dummies in the world.
Yeah, like David Tepper.
It said some fun things that we've heard Matt Rule say in the past is like, you got to win the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, and the last 5 minutes of the game. These are the times that games are decided. So he used some like game probability theory of the most important minutes in a game. The sad part is he knew which minutes were the most important and was terrible at those minutes themselves. Is like, really, they were the worst minutes other than that third quarter. Ugh. He said this, screw this. You think that just the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter are important? I'll show you guys. I won't even play the whole second half. The document then goes on to state that if you can't write down this plan, this is a teacher, man. This is like with some crap I would say to my students. Like, if you can't articulate this, then you don't know it. The document states if you can't write down this plan and the brand, the staff member is not OOU. And that is an acronym commonly used in the building that stands for one of us. OOU was used regularly in the draft and free agent process to determine what players Carolina should and should not target. The acronym came to be mocked regularly by some staffers in the last year, and it ends in now Matt Rule is finally not OOU. Now I just added that part. But there was some fun. There's but this is the Wild Cherry Pepsi report of the Matt Rule behind the scenes. Joe Person described him as a college coach that couldn't transition. Guys, your thoughts on some of the stories about Matt Fool?
He's a fool, and don't I know it?
Look, Matt Rule had a vision, okay, and he had a plan, and I got to give him credit for that because he did. It just, even if it sounds batshit crazy to us, it was a plan that he had coming in, which not everybody goes into.
What?
Smartly with
Be
that.
tough, be hard working.
I mean, I guess whatever. Like I said, in his mind, he had a vision. It's just the problem was I think it's a college mindset.
It was.
I think he's not a leader
Entirely.
of men. He's a leader of boys, and that's the problem. Not boys. I don't want to say boys. I don't want to call college kids boys, but young men. Like
some people said he's a
better
Jimmy and Joe guy, not an X and O guy.
Yeah. He's better at molding young men and getting along with the crowd and being popular and having a turnover and a change. You don't build a dynasty. Well, I mean, you do build dynasties in college, but it's a little different. you're going to have turnover in teams in college every single year.
Yeah.
In the pros, you don't play like that. So you got to look at, I mean, I didn't like it from the beginning. It ended up working out not in my favor. And I'll take a little bit of credit for that, but it was just kind of a feeling. It's not like I didn't base it on any kind of real knowledge. So, but
I commend you, man, because you said all the stuff that you talked about. Like, he sounded like he was just speaking coach talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sounded like a preacher on there. And he's a college coach, so we don't really know what he's capable of doing. Odds are he's not going to be successful. There's not been a lot of success in this league from college coaches. And one of the things, and this is where I guess my mindset is starting to change a little bit as well, is because it's worked in the past doesn't mean you should just go based on the exception, right? Just because there has been one college coach that's worked out, or two college coaches, or maybe not even any, if you don't want to consider Cliff Kingsbury a successful NFL coach, right? But the part that I think is I'm starting to realize is I don't want to play the I'm after the exception because Drew Brees was a short quarterback and he was successful. The majority of short quarterbacks are not successful.
Right.
Sorry. Don't go after the exception. You go after the rule. And the rule is you go after the guy who has shown success, who's got experience in the NFL. And if you're talking about quarterbacks, you want to go after that quarterback type talent as far as body size, arm talent, athleticism. I'm tired of the excuses of it's worked for this guy, but it's just
CK. This is something I've learned in fantasy football over the last couple, actually, that I've recognized with me in fantasy football. And my fantasy football strategy is often I think, shaped by this podcast in so many ways. Some of the things. Mm-hmm. So, like when Sam Darnold came in, I drafted him in a late round. I was like, oh, man, this dude's going to pay. He can turn it around. I might hit something out of the park, right? And so what I did is this. Even this year, I went Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy. I thought, man, this is going to all of a sudden be magical. We hadn't seen it yet, though. Hadn't touched it yet. Hadn't felt it. It was something. It was a promise. It was a potential. It had not occurred. And it almost goes to maybe David Tepper's financial strategy, which is to always buy stocks that are in the tank with the idea that they could boom. And he wants to hit these triples. He'd started in junk bonds and then he moved to recession kind of moments. He's bought he's looking for downturns and upside and things like this. And we don't need that now. We need some blue chip stocks. That's what we need. We need some blue chip stocks. Cody, can you pull up the power rankings real quick? Because I just want to finish out on the Matt Rule conversation. He said the most competitive team in the NFL is what the brand would be. Right now, this is what this is reaped for us is the Carolina Panthers. I want to know who CBS has, maybe Chicago behind us? I don't even know. I mean, I know they have more wins, though. But right now, the Panthers are consistently at the bottom of the bunch.
Houston, maybe?
They have a tie. I mean, we're still number. I mean, I'm interested to see who they articulate was the worst team.
That's got us at 31, not CBS, right?
Yeah, the Athletic. Did I say CBS? I'm sorry. But 32 by NFL.com, 32 by ESPN, 32 by CBS Sports, 31 by The Athletic. Pro Football Talk is the power rankings at 32. The brand that David Tepper is selling right now is the bottom brand.
Yeah. The only reason that anybody can have us not at 32 has got to be Christian McCaffrey, right? I mean, it's got to be because whoever there are debating is between the worst and us doesn't have Christian McCaffrey, and with Christian McCaffrey, you always have the ability to have at least 150 yards and possibly a touchdown. I mean, that's got to be the only reason.
I don't know who could be worse than us right now.
They have almost there. They have the Commanders worse than us.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron Rivera is probably going to be.
He's going to get fired next.
Hey, maybe he'll be interviewing. I'm just kidding.
Oh, guys. Let's go on with the next call.
Yep.
Hey. You know who the fuck it ain't. Boyka! It's Joey. And I don't really have that much to say. But I do have something to say.
Well, you know, I hope Sam Darnold starts this week because PJ can't do anything. Or maybe if they won't let him do anything because if they do, he'll just throw to the other team and, like, you know, make their corners, make their cornerbacks have the most receiving yards. But, and Jacob Eason is like, to me, like, it'd be like going on Mint Street and finding some larger sized homeless guy saying, "Hey, sir, quick question. You know how to play quarterback?" And the homeless guy is like, yeah. You know, they just let him play quarterback. Like, that's how proven Jacob Eason is. Like, I mean, for all that we know, they might as well have me at quarterback in there. So I don't want to see PJ. I don't want to see Jacob Eason. I want to see Sam Darnold. And y'all forget.
Let's just run the Wildcat.
Baker Mayfield has been playing like trash with a better offensive line. And Sam Darnold, I mean, he could use his legs. Even though it's like his ankle's the thing.
Did it?
Jacob Eason is. Like, I mean, for all we know, they might as well have me at quarterback in there.
No, he forgot his name just like DJ.
I don't want to see Jacob Eason. I want to see Sam Darnold. And y'all forget, I mean, Baker Mayfield has been playing like trash with a better offensive line. And Sam Darnold, I mean, he could use his legs. Even though it's like his ankle's the thing that's messed up. But, you know, at least he could find DJ Moore. Shit. Oh my God, the DJ Moore saga is like, dude, why can no one find that guy? And yet he's not the one getting pissed and getting kicked out of a game. But, oh yeah, I'm glad we got rid of that bitch. He is a bitch. I stand by that statement. And, also, before I do my famous roar, when is Sheena Quick coming on the beat check? Anyway, guys.
Hey man, this man wants Sheena quick. We're gonna have to get Sheena quick, you know.
You're gonna have to get her quick though.
Yeah, for Joey, he's very demanding. He likes his female talent, you know.
Sheena's been demand though. Sheena's got all the networks coming after her now.
Yeah, she's a man. What a success story for an independent type journalist.
I know.
That's a win right there.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, she's on TV now. Yeah. She's going on ESPN now and things like that. So she's the shooting star of the Charlotte media. One of the things I was going to say about this is he would. Oh God, no! Please don't say it. Just escaped me. Fuck. What was he talking about again? He was talking. Oh no, is that a lot of people have been trying to flex on Cody, like because he said like, and in the chat room, remember when Joey the Black Panther, like we got those flexes, and it's like, oh, you wouldn't say this to these dudes' faces. Well, actually, Joey and Cody are the two people that could say it to their faces.
Oh, dude,
I know, but like, well, what are you gonna do? Punch the blind guy?
Did you see the
what are you
one
gonna do?
time
Punch the guy in the wheelchair? Like, it's like these guys can do that. If anybody can do it,
dude. If you knew some of the stories of some of the shit that I went through in high school and college, you would never say that about me, bro. You know. I've got a mouth on me in case you haven't been able to tell. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. Shout out to Big Jordan. He said I would. He'd smack the shit out of my ass, bro.
All right. Let's go to the next one. You got something to say? What you guys say?
Yeah. Right? Fucking come at Matt Corral, and it's on no matter what.
All right. Can we go to the next call?
Yeah, do it.
100%, dude.
Hey guys, Chuck from Elizabeth City, aka Carolina Sports Guy.
What's up, Chuck?
I just kind of want to talk a little bit about. I know I've harped the last few times I've called about being so animate about not trading CMC, and it seems the writing's on the wall. As bad as I hate to lose a premier player, I do understand the salary cap implications. I do understand as a running back, although he's a special running back because he sure can play slot and catch football like no other, and he has this capacity to do incredible things. I do understand that by the time we get good again, he's going to be on the downside of a running back career. I just really hate the fact that we're going to eat some dead money, which is a waste in my opinion. You might as well keep the player.
Yep.
But the draft that we get, even if we get a late first rounder, that's no guarantee that we're going to get a premier player. Now, a lot of people are saying we'll get a second rounder if we trade him. If we trade him to a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations, I'd expect a late first. We go into the draft with top 5 pick, a late first. We'd have our early second. Even though we don't have many other draft picks, that would be something to build on. Now, I do want to say this. I think Wilk's opportunity to have this job it's unfortunate for him, but I don't think it's going to come to fruition because it's definitely a fact that if he wins his job, we're not drafting anywhere in the top 10. And that's kind of putting us back in the mediocre part of the pack. And just unfortunately for him, we can keep him on maybe as defensive coordinator or if we hire the right person. Now, in my opinion, since we've gotten rid of Rule, and if we get rid of Wilkes, we might as well clean the house completely, especially if we're going to get rid of players like CMC. If we're going to bring in a new coach, we need to bring in a GM. I don't think Federer gets a pass on this guy. At one time I thought, okay, he shares no blame. But the C.J. Henderson trade, you're looking at bringing in Mayfield, just a couple of picks in the draft and things that have happened. I just don't look at it and think that he is free of innocence. And one other thing I want to address, isn't it funny that in our heyday under Cam, the one thing we did not have that we needed in the Super Bowl and throughout his post-Super Bowl career is an offensive line.
Yep.
A great tackle. What is the one strength we have on this team right now? The one thing we will not give up and we'll have going into the rebuild, a great offensive line. So isn't that ironic how the football gods shine upon us in that way?
Yeah.
But that's all I got for now, guys. Thanks.
We always kept saying if we just had an offensive line, and now we can't even say that right now.
Right.
I was thinking about this with Joey. I want to do the shirt, my favorite, what's it called? Oxymoron now is poor billionaire. And I would love to have like a face caricature of David Tepper crying, dollar sign tears, poor billionaire. But I wonder this, is there an irony? Because, an oxymoron is ironic, right? Is there an irony that maybe blind people could actually have the most fun at the strip club?
I mean,
you would think that not being able to see at the strip club would be a down thing. But in theory, the whole crappy part about going to the strip club is you can only look. What would they do with a blind customer? I mean, is there a braille?
Yeah, I gotta read these women. But they say that when you lose one sense, your other senses are heightened. So maybe he smells that place even.
Oh no, they got it. Like he's the only blind people are the only people that go to the strip club and touch and not get in trouble.
Dang, Joey, is that true? Tell me if that's true.
It's gotta be
Joey.
true.
If not,
I think it's true.
If not, we need to find out.
True.
We're gonna test it.
We need to put a camera on Joey, and we need to find out what's.
I mean, how could they get mad?
I'm not
blind.
taking a camera to a strip club's a good idea.
I'm blind. Well, no, you're right about that. All right, next call.
Hey guys, how you doing? Tyler here. Hope you're having a good night.
What up, Tyler?
As far as Robbie Anderson, I think obviously we all know it's a matter of time. It's just with his actions on the field and obviously Matt Rule gone. I think the team, as far as Steve Wilkes and Scott Fitterer, wanted him gone anyway. We needed a cap. We needed to save some money on the cap for next year. I think he was a cap casualty. His extension that we gave him was not smart at all. But again, I really think that was more of Matt Rule than Steve Fitterer. Just going on talk about Steve Fitterer for a second. I just think we should wait until the off season comes, see what he does, because Matt Rule is no longer making those calls. And pretty much during Dave Tepper's press conference, he kind of admitted that in a way where he admitted and said, "I need to do a better job." And when I hire the coach and the GM to have them both work as a unit, so he pretty much told us that it was 100% Matt Rule making those decisions at the end of the day. So I would love to see what Scott does without Matt Rule being there. I would love to see what that looks like. And I really believe that I don't think Scott would have made this extension without Matt Rule as the coach. I just don't see it. But it is what it is. He's gone. We got some picks for him. That's better than nothing. It sucks that we have dead money on the guy, but again, it is what it is. I think there will be another veteran, pricey veteran that we're going to get rid of. Could it be CMC possibly? But I also think it could be Shaq Thompson too. He's a veteran. Not that I would like for him to be gone, but I could see him being let go in order to save some money. We'll see. But just glad Robbie Anderson's out the door. Same thing with Matt Rule, obviously. I'm really kind of glad that we're losing these games. I want us to be competitive. I want the defense to look good. Offense is going to be the way it is for the remainder of the season until Sam Darnold gets in there. I think it'll look a little bit better. That'll be interesting to see how he plays with a really good offensive line and in front of him. But also giving Terrace Marshall Jr. some chances with Robbie gone is going to be very exciting to watch. But I do want us to be competitive, but I also want us to lose so we can get CJ Stroud. But if you guys have a good night. Talk to you later.
Good call. This is a really good call. Thank you for your support.
That was a good call.
You covered a lot of good things.
He's already marrying Scott and Steve together, like J-Lo and Ben, or Benifer. You know what I'm saying? Like he's already got them. He called him Steve Fitterer. But I get what he corrected it later on. The chat didn't miss it. But outside of that, dude was spot on with a lot of the things he was saying for sure. I love this, by the way. I'm laughing hysterically as you pull that up.
The internet always wins, dude. So that was a good call. The chat room always wins. This I got in. Pardon, sweet cheeks. She's got a locked account, so I'm not gonna share. Like I'm sad I'm sharing, but I had to get this one up. And I didn't know where. I knew I saw her post it.
Dr.
Ian Rappaport comes out and reports after the game for Arizona. Some good news for Arizona Cardinals. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown, following the MRI on his foot, it isn't as bad as was initially thought. It's a small non-surgical fracture, source said. Recovery time is about 6 weeks. He's getting a second opinion from Dr. Robert Anderson before moving forward. And then the reply to the tweet is a picture of Robbie Anderson with glasses on. I giggled at this mess for a long time because the tweet just says Twitter. And you could just put the internet, it's just undefeated. The internet is so awesome. All right, let's go with the next call. We're getting towards the end, guys.
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes them howl.
God, Joey
the Blind Panther.
One call.
I'm not gonna do my G Baby impression because I doubt this call can get played all the way
dumping
through.
You. Sorry.
Oh no, Joey.
Yeah.
By the way, Joey says he does have a methodology for strip clubs. I'll put it on play the call.
Right. Is the call in there? Is it in the call? Gosh, Joey.
No.
All right. Because you're blind.
But I really do have something that I really want to say. Y'all are talking at the time of making this call not at the time it's going to be played. Y'all are talking about a lot of people are on the fire sale train. And yeah, I get where that's coming from. Believe me, because like this, yeah, the thinking is, oh, we need more assets because we only have 4 picks, which, you know, the guy we don't want to fire, Scott Fitterer, he's the one responsible for that, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I was going to talk about the fact that, guys, it's here. We're finally the team that is shitty enough where we don't have to sell a motherfucking thing, and we still have the number 1 pick. So why don't we just sit the hell back?
That's
like,
what I'm saying,
dude?
Joey.
Like,
all right,
what
I'm
are the
skipping
Jags?
to your rail.
It sucks so bad. We shouldn't sell anything. Anyway, guys.
All right, last 2 calls.
I was just wondering, this is a Kelvin. Is there a way, and I don't know if we can do this, Anthony Brown is a backup quarterback on the Ravens practice squad. Guy's a beast. Is there a way that we could get him off of the Ravens practice squad and onto ours? And if we can't, I'm with Cody. I'd say roll with Eason, and let's see what happens. We've got a really good team. We just need a quarterback.
Does anybody really care? And I don't mean about the call. Like, thank you for the call. But, like, do we really care for the quarterback position to get better in Carolina?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with us.
No.
I'm fine with them.
Fine with last week. I'm going to watch that same game again.
No, I'm fine with every drive. Put a different quarterback in.
Ooh, that would be fun. Like musical chair quarterback.
Let's just let different players play.
What if you did
quarterback position? Let them try it out. Put an offensive lineman out
Can
there.
I ask y'all a question?
Do a direct
Like,
snap to an offensive lineman.
Like I've been doing this podcast for 4 years. Tony longer than that. I believe CK and Bat Daddy have been with us for around 2 years or more, a little bit more.
More, yeah, we're closer to the 4 mark.
Closer to 3. So it's like every single year we're like, oh, dude, it can't get worse. It's so bad. Like we had so much hope, and then we just nosedive. And then it's like we've had this pattern of building up our hopes and then nosediving. But this year, there's not even a nosedive. There was never an upward trajectory.
we never took off.
No, there was never an upward trajectory at all, man. And God, I would so like to be a part of doing this podcast with all of you incredible viewers. Still 130 viewers, 3 hours deep. We love y'all. I would love for one season to do this podcast with a good Carolina Panthers football team. I'm desperate for it, man.
We never took off.
Every time it feels close, it just seems like it gets further and further and further away, man.
It kind of. I wish this analogy would play a little bit better if it was before the takeoff. But I said I was a part of a record that was set at RDU for the longest delay on the tarmac, like on the plane. You know what I'm saying? Like not moving. Just the longest delay. It was like 4.5 hours. The lightning strikes.
Damn.
We had already landed. The plane was hooked up to the ramp. They would not unload the plane because the workers who had to help unload the plane couldn't go out in the lightning. So we sat there with the door to the fucking airport right there for 4.5 hours.
What?
That's what this season feels like.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
Imagine that. We were like, man, we don't even need our stuff, dude. Let's just let us go. We'll come back and get it. They're like, nah, man. I was just open the door. Just people were calling this dude. Besides calling the top person, trying to talk to the VP of American Air or whatever it was. Good God, that's
At
what this.
point did you bust out of that fucking thing?
God, it felt like it. Last call.
What else, C3? JSU. Robbie situation. I'm not surprised. I don't believe what he says to begin with, because if he was worried about winning, wasn't he taking Sam Darnold? Did he have Sam Darnold back? Didn't he not want Baker Mayfield? So if it was all this, he wanted to win, he never had a winning culture. He never was a standout wide receiver. He only stood out with the Jets with a few plays because he's a one-trick pony. And trust me, there's no hate towards Robbie. I wish him the best. I wish we never traded for him or picked him up. Just a missed opportunity. In my opinion, we put him versus Ted Ginn. I'll put Ted Ginn over him 100%. It's just sad how he causes a scene when his daddy left. I mean, it was obvious, but he's not gonna state that. I mean, his boy Sam Darnold is still here. So what was really the reason for him to leave? He was getting treated the same way he was when Sam Darnold got picked up. But yeah, that's all I got to say for tonight. It's going to be a stormy season. It's going to be stormy for a while.
The door is right there.
Need a few holes filled. I don't see that happening as a fan base. We just mix. Some of us want a pass rush. A lot of us want a quarterback. We're not focused in on one key point of the team. Man, I'm stuck on quarterback. We've been ignoring it since camp, but keep pounding.
Thank you guys for the calls tonight. The number is 252-228-5098. You can be part of the post-game show this Sunday. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up. We've got the Friday free-for-all. We're also lining up next week. Hold on. It's coming to me. Roaring Riot, Josh Klein is going to help us with the beat check next week. So we still got some things we're pulling. We're going to be keeping and going together. But this season, we're going to need each other. Lock arms, folks. Stick with us, because right now we are on that plane. Right there. And we're at the gate. All they got to do is open the door. And then behind that door is a number 1 draft pick. But they're not going to open that door for about 10 more weeks of talk as we got to go through this. So you guys, man, get the cards out. We're going to get together. We're going to hang out. We don't need to be the people that are calling the VP of whatever, JetBlue or whatever airline I was on. Right now, you need to call the C3 Panthers podcast at 252-228-5098. Get the deck of cards out. We're going to start playing. We're going to start playing PrizePicks. We've been playing PrizePicks. We got a lot in store for you guys. And we can even, we're not even going to talk about this, but this is the type of stuff we're going to have to get excited about. Panthers signed Chandler Wooten off the practice squad of Arizona. So they were like, hey, while we're here, let's just look through your practice squad. While we're here, and that is talking on the telephone is just read some names off to me. Oh, linebacker, we could use that. Take them. That quarterback for the Ravens, that's what we're going to have to get signed about. Former Auburn linebacker Chandler Wooten had an interception in the preseason. The Panthers have signed him to the practice squad, and we can look for him, I guess, to make a difference.
Yeah, aren't you guys excited?
I am.
Come on,
Just
guys.
think whenever he makes a tackle, we can say, woo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it'll be so fun.
All right, let's do our picks real quick. Anybody picking the Panthers this week against the Bucs? No. I am not.
How could you, man?
The Falcons, man. I told you guys not to sleep with them. The Falcons, feisty Falcons. Who are they playing this week? They got.
I'm not sure. Hey, by the way, while Greg pulls that up, Tony, I'm upset with you, man. You said that I should have went with Christian McCaffrey on my PrizePicks. Well, I didn't. I went with DJ Moore, and I didn't hit on that.
I know.
But I was gonna do the 3 out of 4 correct.
Oh,
and you were like,
that's that. Go for
all
it.
the way, man. Go all the way.
I would have won every week if I'd have done that. Yep.
And dude, if I would have, I hit Steph Curry, I hit the Matthew Stafford interception, and I hit Josh Allen over 300.5 passing yards.
Well, you
Damn
could just
it,
done what I
man.
also said, which is go Christian McCaffrey. The Falcons have and Cincinnati. Don't forget to use the
Bengals.
promo code C3, guys, if you are going to PrizePicks, get 100% first time deposit bonus. Bengals, the Falcons are on the road against the Bengals. It's a fun story, but I'm picking the Bengals here. Anybody picking the Falcons on the road?
Nah, Cincy.
We're not keeping score anymore,
Yeah,
so I'll say
Cincy.
Falcons.
Oh, okay. And then the other was the Saints. Are they on a no, they're at the Cardinals.
They're playing Cardinals, yeah.
Ooh.
I'm going to take the Saints.
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints on the road here.
Yeah.
Y'all not
Cardinals are
down
not
for
a
the
good team.
Robbie Anderson revenge?
Revenge
Robbie
of what?
Anderson's not gonna, I mean, I don't know. He's not going to ball out and, you
He
know.
might actually. I picked him up in fantasy because I have Hollywood. I have Hollywood, man. I need and he's been a top performer for me. I need a guy. My fantasy team, I'm 3-3 right now.
There's nobody else better on the team than Robbie Anderson.
I'd have to trade, and I don't really
So how
know.
about this? I'm going to do
Isn't the league I'm in? Isn't the league I'm with you? If it is,
No, but I probably have. I've always have very similar teams because I just have a strategy
Dude,
and I try to execute it.
I'll say
the
if it's in
league
our
that
league,
I'm in
then
with you,
talk to me.
dude, the league that I'm in with you, this is the best fantasy football team I
You had
have
an awesome
ever had,
draft, dude.
ever.
You had an awesome draft.
Yeah,
you
you
were
got
in
a
a
good
good
team.
spot, and you made some great picks.
Yeah,
I was
dude,
going
I'm
to propose
five-
a trade to you the other day.
I'm 5-1 in that league, but yeah, no, I agree with Greg. Since we're not really taking score, I'll take the Cardinals because fuck the Saints.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like that. Good reason to pull against the Saints.
Fuck you, Saints. Keep
There we go.
going.
All right. We've got one final bit to do. The longest running the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast, literally. Thanks for sticking around with us for 3 hours and 4 minutes. All those people, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe, consider supporting us on Patreon, becoming a C3 super fan. And you can find other ways to donate in the chat or just be a supporter by being a participant in the community. Check out the Discord channel. There's all different types of way to get involved with the C3 Panthers podcast. And the last thing that we do on this show is we ice somebody up. Cody, let's get into these ice up picks.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
All right. I'm going to start off because I'm going to do two, but I'm going to do one and then let you guys go around. If we got enough time, I'll sneak in this other one. But I've always said this is when you hear people, there's a kind of a funny thing. Anytime somebody is like so anti-gay in politics, they like continue to turn out to be the gayest. Right. And so they get so mad at this. And you see this is like all these conservatives, and I'm not trying to say conservatives, I'm just saying they'll be like, buh, 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 and then you find out they have an abortion. No gay man. And then they're just, in the bathroom. This one, saw this on Business Insider. An anti-gay Hungarian politician has resigned after being caught by police fleeing a 25-man orgy through a window. Now, what's interesting about the wording of this, right?
This is a good one, Tony.
Is he fleeing? Is he fleeing through the window? Which I know that's what they're trying to write. Or is this a 25-man orgy happening through a window? They're all crowded around this window. So this, to me, this guy right here, ice up, man. Yeah. Those who cry the loudest, dude. Woo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those who denounce the
dude.
loudest, as New Daniel said.
Dude,
All right, that's my ice up
dude.
pick.
Joe Rogan has the best joke. He's like, all the politicians that are trying to ban gay marriage are secretly afraid that dicks are delicious.
I believe that. I believe they are. I believe.
Yeah, and it's true, man. Listen, I'm gonna be short and simple. I normally have like one planned out and videos and shit. I don't have none of that, man. I'm just icing up Robbie Anderson for this whole week, man. All the shenanigans. But their legend, and Jonathan Stewart. Like, there is levels to this. And Robbie Anderson is decidedly not on Jonathan Stewart's. And it's like, well, you're going to take a shot. Not only are you going to try to fight our coaches, but now you're just so willing to throw everyone under the bus. I'm just so happy that he's gone. To Dr. Robert Anderson. Ice up, son.
Robert Anderson.
All right. Who you guys got?
I'll go. You already saw my video. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. I'm not gonna play the whole video. I'm just gonna hit key
This is
points
wild.
on this, but it is pretty
She
wild.
should be shot.
Yeah, I have no idea who this is or anything about this other than it just scrolled across my timeline on YouTube and I watched it because the title was crazy. Let's see. So this woman is in a car with her child getting pulled over by the police. Oh, you know, I didn't share the audio. Hold on. Getting pulled over by police. I don't know any details of it, of what's going on, but I just see the video and just the way people try to get away from cops is crazy. So let's see here.
Now you just had a wreck. Look out!
Look out!
Get out! Get out!
I have a favorite part of this video.
Like this is attempted manslaughter. Just so anybody knows, if you ever do this with a vehicle, that's a deadly vehicle, a weapon.
Watch
That's
out!
attempted manslaughter. So I'll fast forward a little bit. They get chasing her. They pin her in here.
This is great. I like this part.
Like, and I actually have to give her credit because there are a few times in this whole video, this is an 8.5 minute video, where it looks like she's pinned in and she seems to get away somehow. And I know, Tony, you said you wanted to ice this guy, just kind of pinch the window out.
That's the stuff that made me laugh.
I think the guy had some sort of like a brass knuckle or something.
Yeah, the way it's something he was tapping with right there.
He's not gonna make it far.
Anyway, I'll fast forward. It's a long video. You guys can look it up. But like, she gets into a couple different situations where she's pinned in like that. Gets away, but I wanted to get to the part right here where she gets actually stopped and caught. Here we
What'd I
go.
do?
Listen to her explanation.
Ma'am. We got it.
I know I'm buckled, sir.
I know I'm buckled, sir.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir. I didn't do anything. I didn't do it, sir.
You just tried to kill 10 people.
No, I didn't do it, sir. Sir,
Like-
stop. Sir, I didn't do it. Stop. Why have you done? Stop.
Why have you done this? Like, asking her why they're pulling her out of the car.
I didn't do it.
All right,
It's
great.
absolutely amazing. And she has a kid in the car, too. Yeah, I'll stop her here. So anyway,
She has a kid, dude.
to this woman, you know, because this is attempted manslaughter, fleeing from the police, child endangerment, all kinds of different laws you're breaking here. I have to tell her to ice up because you just got to be crazy to do this kind of stuff. And I will say they showed different views too, and there are plenty of opportunities where the cops from the different camera views have guns pulled on her.
I know. What restraint?
And honestly,
we could say something about
are
the
within
justice system on this
within their reason to pull the trigger in this situation and do not. So I commend them for holding up on that because I don't recommend they do that in any kind of situation or wouldn't want them to. But I have to kind of commend them for not pulling the trigger in the situation. But to this lady, ice up, man.
CK, what you got?
All right. So mine is a bit of a branch from Robbie Anderson as well. Mine is going to have to do with Cody's tweet that he put out that apparently was super racist when he called Robbie Anderson.
Which I deleted.
Yeah, it's apparently super racist because he called Robbie Anderson a punk. Which, again, nonetheless, that's not the reason that I'm icing anything up. But basically, everybody was in the comments just talking about that's messed up. You wouldn't say it to his face, all that stuff like Tony, you were talking about. Well, there was one that I decided to comment on, and his name is Chappelle. And he said, "Yeah, dude, you're out of line for that comment. Don't say things like this if you can't stand up and say it to their face in person. That's being a punk, sir." I said, Dude's in a wheelchair, so I'm gonna let you delete that comment real quick.
Stand up. If you can't stand up and say this, you got to be quiet forever.
Which kudos to him. He then doubled down.
Oh, no,
I did like the guy that said he would. Some people won't squish a grape in a grape factory or something like that. Would make me laugh.
Here's the thing. Here's what I think is absolutely crazy. Is the amount of people that came running to Robbie Anderson's defense in this is hysterical. Not a single one of them were coming running to Antonio Brown after he walked out going crazy on his team, right? This is, and it's not the exact situation. I'm fully aware of it, but it also is not an acceptable way of doing things in the real world, right? That's not how you can act in the real world and actually keep your job or not be punished. You can't do that on the football field and act like you're, above the people that are ahead of you, right? Your coaches are your coaches. Everybody is failing on this team. I know that that's frustrating, but at the end of the day, Robbie Anderson, anybody who's defending Robbie Anderson at this point in time, I have one thing to say to you, and that is ice up, son. Ice up.
I want to sneak this.
And by the way, I would just like to let the record show I can bust a grape. I can at least do that.
Oh no, I didn't think that's what he meant. I think he meant like you couldn't you would be scared to squish a grape in a grape factory or wine factory.
That's probably what he meant. But
I just got away. This one made me laugh too, guys. Real quick is this was from @Johnny Kunza, and who did I find it from? Somebody who always puts up great tweets retweeted this or said something, but some sort of text messaging going on. It starts with this: "Wait, are you Jewish?" The guy says, "Yes." Response is, "But you aren't you supposed to be circumcised?" And he goes, "I am circumcised, .. question mark. And she has, the response from the girl is, "No, you're not cut." And then his response is, "I'm totally baffled as to how you could think I have foreskin." And she goes, question mark. And then the last tweet says, "Oh, sorry, I Googled it. I thought circumcision is when they cut the whole thing off." Tweet says we got some educating to do. Woo.
That's great.
Man, so that's my ice up to that. Interestingly, is that's why the Apostle Paul said that Christians didn't have to get circumcised, because when the first Christians were becoming Christian, they weren't young. So, like, if you wanted to have them do Jewish customs as being part of a Christian,
you had to do it as a grown man.
like 38 years old and get a circumcision. Paul's like, I don't think this is the best way to sell Christianity. It's true. He's like, if you're Jewish, you got to get the circumcision. But if you ain't Jewish, that law does not apply to you.
That's hilarious, dude.
All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We had a great show tonight. Surprisingly, I thought we were on a tremendous pace. Guests got a little long, and then the calls got great. Thanks for supporting us on PrizePicks. Use the promo code C3. Thanks to Manscaped for supporting the C3 Panthers podcast. You can get 20% off your order at manscaped.com using the promo code Panthers, and you get free shipping too. And you can help support us by subscribing. We're going to be making a transition. Next week, we'll talk about our transition with our audio podcast that I think should drum up some new excitement and some new bonds to the fan-sided website. So you guys can check that out. And thanks for your time, guys. Cody Lashney, good hanging out with you.
Yeah, man. It was, there's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than here hanging out with you boys. And listen, man, there's a brand new mock draft out tomorrow at drafttech.com. I'm the analyst for the Carolina Panthers, writing the #1 pick this year, boys. Let's go. And I write for Houston. So technically right now I'm writing #1 and 2. But yeah, man, so check my content out over there. This Friday will be another edition of the C3 Friday Free-For-All, where you can join the show and come on the show via StreamYard by the fans. And you can find me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac. I'm probably talking that gang of shit, dude.
All right, Greg, the Bat Daddy, the Stat Daddy. Lots of cool stuff you guys are talking about on the Geeks Chasing Squirrels Through the Metaverse podcast.
Yeah, man, a whole lot of stuff. Actually, this week's gonna be really fun. If you want to come check me out Friday 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be covering Black Adam. Full spoilers because I'm going to go see it Thursday. So if you get a chance to see it beforehand, come check out the show. If not, wait till you don't get spoiled and check out the movie. But check me out at the Bat Daddy 52. Otherwise,
Greg, Thank you, Greg. CK.
You can find me everywhere. Code Dizzle Allen is the handle. And mainly here with these guys, we've been doing it strong for about 3 years now as a total unit. And so the funny thing is, those are some of the, maybe it's us. Maybe we're the bad luck. Greg and I, since this has happened, it's been unfortunate for this team.
When I was here too, I mean, before y'all, I think it's a combination of all of them.
We're about to get our quarterback. We're about to have some exciting talk, dude.
Hey, that's the goal, man. But nonetheless, you can find me there. And then we're going to do the C3 Madden simulation every Saturday night at 9:30. Last week's was incredible as far as the engagement and the viewership on that. You guys seem to really enjoy that. So, just keep tuning in to some of the more, some more of the C3 content because we just, pound this shit out.
All right. Well, let's keep pounding, and we'll see you at the very least on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's go ahead and get out of here, Cody.
C3 Panther Nation. Keep pounding.